explain that to everyone. So, all right, we are live streaming, and let's check into our studio, see how that's doing, see if we connect. And says we have an excellent connection, and that's a good start. And we're going to, all right, see if that shows up live on the live stream. So I'll reset that.
It is showing up, and
Excellent.
let's see, what is this? I didn't know you could play piano. What is this?
No, that's my son. That's EdBeth. That's
I just looked at it very quickly. I'm sorry. Yeah. And sometimes the way you guys do yourselves up, it's hard,
No, that's so adorable. No, thank you. That's fine. That's totally fine.
I was asking.
We love that. But actually, I know for a fact that if you looked at it long enough, you would realize EdBeth's frame is too slight for that to be me. Even though I can pass as a female and often do, I still have a bit more bulk and I'm a bit taller. And besides, I can't play the fucking piano.
My next question.
Yeah. T-Take Berry says, good evening, loud and clear, brothers, 100%. So my thanks to T-Take Berry for 100 United States dollars, which I found in the mail slot. Behind my door as soon as I opened, which I know he got through the mail slot, and that is so bizarre, T-Tank Berry. I will share later on a bit of earlier luck and fortune that happened when I came back home and did some short supply run and all that. But
should I be adding people?
Please, by all means. Yes, please.
Should I quickly go into the blurb or not?
Please. Oh, yeah. Do that first.
Because I think it's important before we get sidetracked. Yes. Because it is important to get those upvotes in right away. Hit the little thumbs up icon. If you are listening, always do that. At the least, do that. And then check if you're subscribed. There should be a button for that. Check that the notification bell is on, when we come on. But in case you forget or something weird happens, we have to restart. Please do those things. The upvotes are important for the algorithm because there are downvotes placed that you cannot see. You see the thumbs down there, but it does not show the count. But enemies of Douglas do put them themselves or with bots, and that affects the algorithm and his ability to be heard and to make a living. So, and beyond that, since you have an account to do these things, you could go, if you're ambitious, under your account settings. For me, it's under Switch account on the PC. I don't know what it looks like on the phone. And you can create sub-channels to your main account, and each of them can do separate upvotes as well, which is kind of neat. So you can do that. Usually I throw about like 3 upvotes, at the beginning of the program. So, and now I will commence to add people.
That was beautiful. That was very beautiful. I'm so appreciative of your being so conscientious about that, because you're absolutely right. The enemy hits us immediately as soon as we start transmission. I do want people to understand that V has been under attack. She has suffered what Brendan Zogit, when he comes on, hopefully comes on, will describe as having witnessed happen to myself. She suffered somebody from a different device trying to break into her account, and she was given a warning by Google, even though she was on a different search engine, even though she uses a different search engine. So, I myself use Firefox for bizarre reasons that I've explained in the past, having nothing to do with trying to beat the corporate man. I would have easily have stayed with probably Chrome, just Google, which owns YouTube, apparently, and this was something Selena Khan said that made absolutely no sense, yet has proven to be true in practice. So kudos to Selena Khan for somehow knowing this. It's bizarre what people know and what they don't know. It's amazing what people cannot know, and yet other things they do know. But Selena Khan, she said, you've got to use a different search engine with YouTube, because the Google, even though they own the YouTube, they don't work with YouTube, and they don't work well. They don't interface well, if at all. And for all intents and purposes, they don't. Certainly did not years ago when I switched over to Firefox. and she was proven quite right. The reasons behind that are beyond me. I have no idea why Google is that fucked up where they would own YouTube and then not interface well with it. All such being said, we can speculate about that, sometime later. In the interim, I see that Aaron Tice is active, so hopefully he'll be able to join us, as well as Brendan Zoget joining us. Thank God. Well, yes. Yes, welcome. So delighted to have you. We certainly need to have a roundtable, or at least yourself speaking, for a good bit of tonight, till I get into the rhythm and get my steam going, and then going into full monologue. I do want people to know a bizarre thing happened. I mean, there's just so much to talk about on a personal level to get out of the way, as well as on a public level. Again, I want to thank T. Tank Berry for his 100 United States dollars that he contributed, which I found behind my door as soon as I came home. There's only one man it could be. And I do want Aaron Tice to know that hopefully he can speak to him soon, because he's asked about how things are going for me financially, and I could always obviously use help. In his case, hopefully another order of Gerolsteiner, which I'm out of. And believing that's a lifesaver, because I try and use that to replace my Coca-Cola. I do want people to know that as soon as transmission is over, if I ended a bit early tonight, it's because of what happened on Thursday. So what happened was, my Wednesday show, which stretches into Thursday morning, I had an appointment scheduled. And I know exactly what happened, because this sort of thing has happened before. And I remember when I was care providing for my parents, and Beaver's own father, my gang brother, Beaver, was helping me to care for my parents. His own father started dying of cancer, and he was taking care of his dad, who was dying, simultaneously to helping me taking care of my parents, driving all over the place. And he specifically asked for one date when he was given a choice of dates to schedule his dad for chemotherapy. He specifically scheduled one date so that it wouldn't conflict with the date we had to take my parents to the hospital. And of course, the nurse misscheduled him for the same date. And this sort of thing happens all the time. That's what happened this time. So there's this black, or Creole. She's not, Creole's actually the term, though some people, for reasons unknown to me, find that completely offensive. I don't understand why. But she's some Caribbean black, or effectively a Creole nurse, who misscheduled me. She gave me 2 different dates. I know what I scheduled. And I put that on my calendar. She scheduled the other date. So when I came in, the best thing I can say was that at least the date was later than the one that I thought it was scheduled for. The misscheduled appointment, which was for tomorrow. So I have a misscheduled appointment for, the day after tomorrow, really, on Tuesday. And I am, I would have been pissed, but I made the most of it. I arrived there at the hospital, and then afterwards went across the street, something I never would have otherwise have done, and bought myself a big bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, where it turns out they accept food stamps. So I basically got a big bucket of 8 pieces of Kentucky Fried Chicken for free. Of course, they really should be paying me to eat that, because I'm so sorry. I should not be complaining for what worked out comparatively well, but I'm sorry. Kentucky Fried Chicken is greasy, and it's frightening in the sense that the pieces are big, and you realize chickens were never naturally that big. These are definitely hormonally altered, genetically modified mutant chickens, people. No normal chicken in history, other than terror birds that used to, the inheritors of the mantle of the dinosaurs that terrorized.
Yeah, that's where all the dodo birds went. They were made of Kentucky Fried Chicken and shit.
Thank you. Oh my God, these are big. It's just like big, juicy they concentrate on the juiciness, so the skin is not really all that nice. I mean, you when you want fried chicken, you really want the batter, and the batter really isn't all that with Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's just kind of greasy, and I got crispy too. I ordered crispy. It just is like, you know, it's basically they want that
11 herbs and spices.
There you go, tender juicy meat. They want that tender juicy meat is what they're aiming for, and they do give meat. I mean, it's just unreal that a chicken.
It's like that.
Yeah.
It's like that movie that came out recently, What Happened to Tyrone. It was like about, they were like cloning humans and putting them into chicken or something along those lines. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Oh, wait, there was something else similar to that. What was that? The blaxploitation satire. There was a blaxploitation satire.
Yeah, wasn't that what it was called? Something about Tyrone.
Yeah, maybe,
what happened to Tyrone?
Maybe. Well, there's probably many blaxploitation satires, or at least more than a few, probably. But oh my God.
Yes.
And V has come under attack. The enemy now counts her as one of us. She was on her computer, and guess what? She got even though she uses a different search engine, just like I do, she got a warning from Google. Someone from a different device is trying to break into your account, which she had never seen before. So I told her, you know, next time that happens, take a screenshot. She doesn't know how to do that, so she'll just photograph it with her cell phone. But she also says the last 2 times that she has worked with me and driven me home, as soon as she has left my place, her tire has blown. Both times. And she's convinced that somebody has set up caltraps. You know what a caltrap is? CALTRAP? Yes. You know, spikes. Basically spikes in front of my home. In time.
They look like, what are those things called? The jacks?
Yes.
Jacks?
Yes. Yeah, like jacks. But they're spikes.
Mega ones.
Yeah. They're horrible. And in the Middle Ages, of course, they used those to when cavalry was charging.
Stop the horses.
Thank you. They throw that in front of the cavalry. Or if you were an ambushman like Dick Turpin and you were going to ambush a carriage or something, you'd do that, something awful. Yeah, when it came, she's convinced that that's what's going on. So she's had 2 flat tires driving me home. We, you know, are basically having her leave me a block away from home, essentially, or, you know, when she's driving me back. But that's awful.
It's just constant with you.
Yeah. Everyone around me, they are targeting it. They're pulling out all the plugs. And
right.
Yeah, and believe me, I did not feed her those concepts. Like, oh, they're putting caltraps. She concluded that herself because it's impossible, and I could see why. It's impossible to imagine why she would get 2 flats otherwise after dropping me off. And she said she.
Right.
Oh, and not only that, they found the evidence of it. Oh, that's right. Her dear friend came to replace the tires. Her friend came over to replace the tires each time, and this time there was a huge curved screw. It was a screw that was intentionally bent. It was obviously not that way originally. It was intentionally somehow bent so that it was straight up, you know, so that it would be straight up, like stepping on a rake. You know what I mean? Like if human being steps on a rake.
Yeah, it's like a caltrap.
Yes, thank you. Basically a caltrap. So they found the
version.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So T-Tank Berry, be very careful. Interestingly enough, T-Tank Berry suffers his own kind of assault, but I think T-Tank Berry, because he probably doesn't park into my driveway and he doesn't park in front of my home. I think T-Tank Berry parks, you know, when he drops some money off on the other side of the street or something, and therefore doesn't suffer that kind of attack. Their attacks are profoundly specific. So, but V's starting to suffer them now, and so this should, you know, they drive people in my direction. You know, they somehow get angry at people who don't go on their side all the way, they feel are not contributing to them all the way, and then they drive them further in my direction, because there's no other direction to go when they keep attacking. So, at any rate, so there's that. I do want people to know, whatever time I end tonight, because I do have an appointment on Tuesday now that I will be seeing the head and neck surgeon, and this will be the appointment in which we schedule, or at least do the finalization for my scheduling for the plastic surgeon. Then after which point, you know, theoretically, then in this month or the next, Brendan Zogit and I will be traveling down there. I do want to ask him about what's going on with him, of course, in a moment. But I do want people to know that either way, whatever time I end the show tonight, I'll be picked up in the morning in order to go back to the Estates about 10 a.m. after the food is delivered, the Meals on Wheels, and I put that away into my icebox because it's the Byzantine Orthodox Christmas Eve day. And it's a combination of that with Western Epiphany. And I will be on the estate for, of course, the Eastern Liturgical Orthodox Christmas, which is far more spiritual. And my son being Armenian Orthodox, that will be important. By the way, the genocidal nation that attacked and destroyed half of his nation, of Armenia, the Azeris, the Azerbaijan, suffered a major blow from the Russians shooting down a passenger plane and killing at least 500 Azeris. So that's the Russians and the Azeris.
Oh, yeah. Even Putin had to apologize, apparently.
Yes! Yes!
And then right after that, he was like, give me money.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Yeah.
They deserve each other.
Well, that just proves how basically not redundant, but how bad those S-500 missile launchers are.
Dude.
They just arbitrarily fire at shit.
Oh, dude, you're not giving Putin enough credit. Putin shot down that plane on purpose and then said, sorry, now give me money or there's going to be more. Don't you get the blackmail?
The Azerbaijani guy said you owe us money for
this. Okay. I'm surprised.
The president. Sorry, I forgot his name.
I'm surprised Putin's not asking for money. Jesus Christ. He should take advantage. He should be doing that.
I was surprised that he apologized. That was
shocked. Well, that's because he's such a oil slut. I mean, and he's just.
Oh, that's right. They could have cut off what little bit they had left.
Yeah. Well, don't forget they're giving all their oil to Israel. The Azeris are on the side of Israel, which is why Israel denies the Armenian Holocaust and all that shit. And so it all feeds.
I'll return shortly. I gotta go into the shop. So.
Okay. Come back soon. Yes, we'll wait for you. And then aside from all of that, we'll cover a number of other issues. And okay, I think I got the basics down in terms of the general situation. Let's take a look inside of our Eric Cradle says, good evening, Team Dietrich. Good evening, Eric Cradle. I also want to give due credit to Samuel Romero. If you're listening, Samuel Romero, thank you so much for that $100 last month. Going to try and send some gifts out to the regular female contributors, and so we'll get around to that as soon as possible. But let me see now. Looking at my calendar, have I got my calendar up? No, I have to go look for it. And here we are. And let me see. So Tuesday is going to be a busy fucking day. That's going to be EASTERN-RITE, Byzantine Orthodox, Greco-Christian Christmas. And I'll be seeing my daughter that day, who herself is Russian. And that should be interesting, seeing her at high noon. Then getting my immuno booster that same day at 4 p.m. So I'll figure some way to occupy myself in the hospital during that period of time. Well, I'll get a lot of reading done, and of course, oh yes, wait till Brennan's back on. I'll tell him what V said about the botanicals that are in my injection, and that'll bring us back to Nemo because of something Nemo once said that was quite cute. And he sent me some other stuff as well. Everybody's, plenty of people have sent me a lot of stuff. And of course, Brandon's been sending a lot of links. And oh my God, the links you sent, Aristides. Oh my fucking God. That is so fucking funny. Tell people about that. And then that other link, is that what this guy wrote? Is that what
Which what?
The electric.
I just sent you.
Yeah, what you had sent me about the, oh, no wonder he killed himself. He had to recharge his fucking Tesla 8 goddamn times.
Yeah, well, that's a joke. That's a joke. And then so there's a thread that's come out. Again, this is all, kind of, apparently it's been out there. It's talked about on a podcast that this guy, whatever his name was, what is the guy's name? The truck bomb guy. Livelsburger.
The white one.
Livelsburger.
You could call him the white guy.
Livelsburger, right? So apparently, supposedly, he was trying to out that a lot of this drone activity is China, and China has, some secret technologies that, of course, they pilfered from us because that's how it works. And so it's not just like, oh, I'm just fucked up in the head, I'm gonna go blow myself up. It's like there's some real deep rabbit hole with it. Now, did he was he feel like he was on the run or had something to prove? But apparently there's like some connection to him saying that China and he's connected to allegations about China and these drones and secret technologies because people think they're UFOs or whatever. And that's been out there. I mean, this isn't that groundbreaking. Like I like sent it to a guy I'm like who I thought he's like yeah I saw that, like big deal. But it's just it's just talk until we really have a confirmation, because there's a lot of these things out there. A lot of whistles are blown that aren't legitimate, for legitimate plays, let's say. It's like right?
No, absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you my own thoughts, of course. That's going to be inevitable tonight. We're going to be, all over the subject inescapably. And I'm looking at something V sent me. She stuck her tongue out emoji. In terms of, I'm trying to think of a suitable reply to that. I guess heart hands, I suppose. Okay, so having sent that out there, I always feel obligated to kind of respond to things like that. It says okay. So she's telling me, not only that, but they did something to her account where everything I sent her from one of my email addresses was getting sent to her spam box. And then when I tried to send her something, I got mailer demons. So essentially they had caused her account to block my email address. She fixed that. It's just endless. And they're on the internet all day, and that's because Stephen D. Kelly. Stephen D. Kelly was the other guy. Stephen Outram is an IT guy, and this is how he uses whatever knowledge he has of information technology left in his alcohol-saturated brain, is trying to break into accounts of people affiliated with myself. But what was the other shit that came out? Botanicals. Remind me to talk to Brendan Zogan about the botanicals and what V said about them, because obviously he's a botany kind of guy, or at least a herbal kind of guy. And when it comes to the other stuff that's going on, and there's so much of it, personal as well as otherwise. Let's see now, other things that have been happening. But yeah, I guess the immediate thing that I can say about these two guys acting is, now, Aristides, tell us your own impression of this. Certainly, you get the impression that these two terror attacks are just so painfully, obviously related. Are they not?
Yeah, I saw some of the goods on that. I don't have it in front of me. They were all involved in the same military facility. I'm not going to try to guess because I forget.
I think it was Bragg. And I'm sure it was Bragg.
Yeah, I think it was Bragg. And then another guy who, what was it? Something involved. One of the guys, I'll try to dig it up, that was involved. Was it one of the guys involved with one of the Trump, supposed assassination attempts, had visited there? And it's like, once you really start connecting the dots, there's obviously a pattern.
Thank you. Yeah. And what I think is that basically, oh, yes, this was the other thing from V. God damn. We can get back to those losers, the suicide bomber losers, later. And again, I should wait till Brendan gets back on. So, Brendan, let us know if you're fucking back out of that shop yet. But then again, he loses himself in those fucking places. I can imagine. He goes in there.
No, I couldn't get lost in this dump. It's an Amazon grocery store, and they don't give cash back. They're like,
what?
Whack.
What?
Yeah.
What do they do then? What, they put it onto credit towards Amazon shit?
Basically, I was like, so what if I had cash? And they're like, well, we can give you change. And I was like, wait, so I can't get cash back? So what is the point of that? And she's like, I get it. I'm sorry. I understand. And I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, like, what?
Never coming back here again. You know?
Not only that, but it's like, I'm surprised she's even, amenable like that, because first off, it has nothing to do with her. You know, she's
well,
just
it's like a brand new store. It's like, so they probably have to fake it till you make it. You know?
Okay, got it. Oh my God. And are you there, Aristides? I noticed that you went mute. What did you,
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was just curious because you went mute all of a sudden. But yeah. So Brendan, yeah, this is two things from V. One is that was cute and interesting. Yeah, you're audible. Okay. Thank God.
All right.
Yeah, two things from V. One of them has to do with this guy she heard either on YouTube or terrestrial broadcast radio, because she's not really a YouTuber. Yet she might watch weird YouTube shit. But mostly she's like, I think, watching a lot of TV, and but also terrestrial broadcast radio she listens to a lot. So it's on either terrestrial broadcast radio or someone on YouTube. It had to be radio because she was listening. What? She was listening to it. So she told me that some asshole came on and started regurgitating everything I said that she specifically heard. So it's not only that I don't think that it's like
that guy's probably using the AI that like trolls all your shows.
Maybe
I noticed like
go on.
It's like more like it's skewed Dietrichonic. All the AI shit that's come out.
You noticed?
Like you talked about something recently.
Yeah.
And then they the tumbleweeds, and then it like verbatim was a post on Facebook where it was definitively dated after the show that you made.
Thank you.
And you don't even have a Facebook.
Thank you.
So whoever's making those, just like somehow the AI just takes what you say and like puts it into these paragraphs.
That fucking
for people to post.
Thank you. The Blood Boys
so
have been saying.
He's probably just using that shit. He's probably just using that shit, trying to pass it off as his.
Thank you. She said that this guy came on. He started by talking about Aleister Crowley, which sounds more like Peter Moon shit, because, that's where Peter Moon would always start off with. But she said this guy was talking about...
do what thou wilt,
Yeah, of course. It's the whole of the law. Do as thou wilt.
Yeah, he loved that shit.
Oh, yeah. Pete loved that shit. Yeah, it gave him some rationale. And again, remind me, just the weirdest shit that's been going on lately. Not all of it negative, but all of it bizarre. But when it came to, I had to follow up with Goober, the guy who I will not name except in private for the present.
Excuse me?
He's being accosted by someone at the store.
No, I'm not being accosted. It's just a little kid. Yeah, carry on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cute.
He's just playing with some kind of laser beam toy.
Oh, okay. That's adorable. So,
right, that's funny.
Yeah. So what happened was she said she was listening. This guy started by talking about Crowley. Then he started saying everything that I said verbatim about Taylor Swift, saying, oh, yeah, Anton Szandor LaVey's daughter, Zena LaVey, and then her daughter is Taylor Swift. But he said it in such a way, she said he was repeating everything I said verbatim. Like he had been reading a transcript.
Like we're talking your response versus Ian's response to that
scenario. Right.
Yeah.
And she said she turned him off because she got so angry and felt so sick that this individual was just regurgitating everything I said and trying to come off like he's a Satanism expert. And I said
they all want to be.
Right. But she said he was coming across like he's trying to combat Satanism when she could somehow intuit that he was pro-satanic. That was, like Ian West. That's ultimately, remember, Ian West is like, they're all
they're cool with it, but then they say they're against it, but ultimately they're worse.
Yes. Yes. Well, you remember.
They're darker than dark.
Yeah. Well, you remember Ian West. Ian West is like, I'm fighting Satanism, and all the Satanists are eating kids, but Jesus Christ was a pedophile. Remember that shit?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
stuff like that.
And then I said to him, but then, what is there? If you're fighting the Satanists, who are obviously anti-Christ, and you're saying Christ is a pedophile, then what is there? In other words, there's nothing. He's a nihilist, a total nihilist, which brings us to, the Edomites. It brings us back to, that's the horror of the enemy. And but at any rate, when it came to the other thing, so is the kid like, he's got you with a blaster now? You got hit by the laser beam, Brendan. He went mute. Oh, he's under laser.
Yeah, no, that's
attack.
funny that you said that. It was close. It was a close call. No, I'm just getting some change out because I'm just in hell. I'm just in hell. I have to go to a laundromat and live out of a warehouse, like a literal storage unit.
Oh my
so
fucking God.
It's hell. It's hell because of you, partially, but
I understand.
Also because of my terrible family.
Yes, I understand. I understand. It's at least I can share some of the blame this time.
Right.
Oh my fucking God! It's like, come on now, living with mom is that bad? Jesus Christ! It's
yeah, pretty much.
Oh my God.
Well, it was nothing against her. Her place is like a really small, like senior living place. It's like baby town.
Oh Jesus, that's awful. It's like the midget.
But I'll tell you
cities.
privately.
Okay.
Yeah, midget. It's like a little house. It's very small.
Yeah.
And she has a cat.
Remember Peter Moon's obsession with the midget city? Yeah. Then I went to see the midget city in Florida. Remember that shit? Yeah, because it was the closest he could get to pedophilia, where everybody was child size for him. It was fun size. Right.
Right. Holy shit. That's sick.
Yeah. Oh, it's yeah.
Sounds like Pete.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. So the other thing that V told me was that when she took a look at the ingredients of what they put in my immunobooster injection each week, the dust mite, what do you call it, droppings and fucking shell casings, when they, what do you call it, debris, anyhow, crushed dust mites, along with... chitin. Yes, I couldn't get that out. It was, but beyond that...
Dust mite extracted chitin.
Yeah, well, not only that, it's just whole dust mites. It's like those bugs they use to create the food coloring. They just crush them completely, and yeah, and their fecal matter with the dust mites, to give me the because what you're really allergic to is dust mite shit more than the dust mites. It's their fecal matter, so that's what they're really pumping me full of. But at any rate, along with that is the let me see now, American cedar, Western ragweed, and the lamb's quarter. And then she told me, oh, well, if you're allergic to the ragweed, then you can't drink chamomile tea or lemongrass because they're very closely related botanicals. And I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. And that makes a lot of sense. And I thought it was so cute when Nemo was asking me, what kind of tea do you drink? And I guess he just tried to throw out there the most common thing he's heard of, which was chamomile. And, when he's asking me about what kind of tea I'm drinking on the show, and then he asked chamomile, and I was like thinking, come on, it shows Nemo doesn't know what chamomile is for. For those of you who don't know, chamomile is, think chamomile to calm down. And
it's a relaxant.
Yeah, it's a relaxant. This is the last thing I would use on this show, because, then I'd be falling asleep on the fucking show. Right. But according to V, I'm actually allergic to that shit and should be avoiding it like the plague. But ironically... that means in 3 to 5 years, if these immunoboosters don't kill me first, and I develop, then I should be able to tolerate chamomile and lemongrass after that without a problem.
Well, it's in there as an irritant to stimulate the immune response, so they have it for some reason.
Yes, there we are. And so aside from all of that going down and all of her being attacked now and all of the other shit going down. So like I said, there's that goober who I'm not going to name publicly for a while yet, but everybody on Team Dietrich knows who he is, and I rendezvoused with him, poor dope who,
not shampoos, right?
Oh, please. I mean, come on. I mean, it would be, there's nothing at the end of the world couldn't get me to rendezvous with that son of a bitch. It's like
no amount of money's worth that.
Yeah, nothing is worth that. Only if maybe the bolide's about to strike and I know where to have an endless source of ketamine would be.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
Yeah. The bolide's about to hit. We're all about to die. He would be the endless source of ketamine, and
go out in style.
Yeah, well, theoretically, you take enough of that shit, and it's like supposed to take away your fear of death, right? Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Which is why he's always taking the stupid. That's why he's always taking the stupid fucking.
That's why he thinks belladonna's good for him.
Thank you. That's why I say I couldn't get it out. The poison truffles. I don't even know what to
Death
call.
must not be that bad, you know.
Yes.
That's actually funny.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute for a second here.
Yes, of course. And so aside from that, let me check into the chat room. And our dear John Doe, otherwise known as T-Tank Berry, says, God bless Team Dietrich. And we're protecting his identity, of course. And Vicky Johnson has joined us. Vicky Johnson says, hello, Douglas, with all kinds of lovely blossoms and hearts, lovely sakura, cherry blossom, that they put a nice little satanic pentagram in the middle of. No fault of hers. That's intriguing. And kissy lips. Mwah. Love you dearly. She says hello to all team DDD. And of course the lovely Victoria says hello. Love you, honey. And so let me again return their hearts. They're giving me lots of hearts, these lovely ladies. And of course it's nice little party results here, and here we are. Let me give them kisses in return. Mwah, mwah, and do that emoji style as well. So here we go. All right, and got a lot of numbers up there. And so share with us a little adventure you might have had recently, Aristides. And by all means, or something that you've observed in current events that you feel needs to be brought to our attention. Anything like that?
No real adventures. It's been, quiet holiday. I mean, technically we're back to work, but it seemed like nobody's really serious. It's like, I didn't know why they try to come back to work for 2 days of people being groggy and whatnot. Yeah. So as far as current events, let me start scanning through some of my saved stuff. Hold on, just give me a second.
Oh, no worries. Yes.
Yeah, because someone had.
By the way, are you a coffee drinker?
Yes.
So tell me, what kind of coffee do you like?
Quality coffee.
I wouldn't even begin to know what.
No.
Would you ever be intrigued? I'm just curious. Would you ever be intrigued by the Civits coffee?
What is that?
Civits. Civits.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, look that up.
I'm actually I get basically. I'm privileged in that I get basically like whole beans that have been roasted from a great place, and I grind them and
oh wow,
make it. Yeah.
How did you manage this?
Got connections.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you. It's so when it comes to the Civits coffee, you can just look that up later and tell me what your impression is of that. And yeah.
How's it spelled?
I'm sorry? Oh, Civits. Like yeah. And it's
I-V-E-E-T?
Oh, here I'll enter it into the text box. Here we are.
Civet. Oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that. C-I-V-E-T.
Yeah, there we are. Civits. There we are. C-I-V-I-T.
Okay, so it's so the coffee, they call them coffee cherries, or coffee beans, which is the inside of a fruit.
Yeah.
That have been eaten and defecated by Asian palm civets. So they've been they've been gently fermented inside of the whatever the whole
intestinal tract.
It's called coffee luwak, by the way.
Yep.
It's the coffee.
Cool.
I've never had that. I'm gonna probably stick with what I'm doing.
Why would you go straight? Yeah, why would you go straight to that?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I remembered your mother loved Starbucks. Your mother was like, that was her social life, was Starbucks. Is that still the case? Because you were telling her it was killing her.
I got her out of that.
Yeah, you told her it was killing her, just like you got me out of Coca-Cola. You got her out of Starbucks. How did you do that? How did you get her out of Starbucks?
I got her one of those coffee presses, and then she was like, "Wow, this is better," and I don't feel like shit afterwards.
Incredible!
And I was
imagine.
like, yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. Oh my fucking god.
Yeah. That was my repayment for her letting me stay there.
Okay. Oh, that's incredible. There we are. It's a picture. There's our man. Our man T-Tank Berry provided us a picture of a civet. A civet's cat.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yes, they're adorable. Adorable animals. Oh my god. Who wouldn't want to imbibe whatever came out of their ass? I'm being facetious, but
No, the cruelty is like on another level. They like keep them in cages and force feed them coffee beans.
Oh
until
shit.
they explode.
Oh my god, I had no idea. Oh
yeah,
my,
that's why I was like, why would you push that stuff?
oh my god, I had no idea. Oh my god, that's awful. That's
We're
like
gonna have to call Q to save them.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
yeah, that's
Brandon
right.
Young style.
Yeah, according to Brandon Young. Yeah, Q loves
Q and
all
Lilith.
animals. Yeah, yes, that Brandon Young. He's such a piece of shit. Honest to God, the more I find out about that guy, yeah, he was one of the guys that was feeding Judith Ager the line of shit that all Doug's photographs are cosplay. And it's like, cosplay of fucking what? What character? In what anime?
Yourself.
Yeah. This dumb fucking piece of shit.
And it was funny. It was because all the characters you were cosplaying as were characters that you gave the Japanese.
Thank you. Thank
That was
you.
what was funny about
They're
that.
cosplaying
And
me.
I think the only liberty that
Yeah.
Edbeth took, right, was just
Yeah.
the Sharingan. That was like the only
Yes.
thing you guys really
Yes. Yes.
took. But everything else was definitely not identifiable by any weed
Yeah,
standards. You know?
Thank you. Thank you. Other than what the Japanese are basically cosplaying myself when yeah.
Like Vincent and different vampire characters. and all
Thank
those
you.
people.
Thank you.
And what's the other one? Alucard.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
The Helsing Alucard, not the Castlevania one.
Yes. Correct. That's right. And
There you go.
So tell us about adventures that have been happening. You must have been through a whole series of adventures. I don't know how much of it you're comfortable.
Yeah, it's called Hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to do laundry at a laundromat on a Sunday.
Oh.
With a bunch of other working class people. It's nothing wrong with them. It's just,
Oh.
it just is what it is. Yeah, it's horrible.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry that you're going through all this, and it's
It's okay.
but in terms
We can
of
blame my scumbag uncle
yeah.
that stole everything from me and then basically gaslit me into having to move out, saying, "Oh, it's all his fault,"
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Oh.
pure evil.
Yes. He
Or just
is.
an idiot. They're just like retards.
They're both. They're
In the original sense of the word.
Yes, they're stupid and they're evil. They somehow manage to combine.
Like the Venn diagram like combines on them on their heads. and
Yeah,
stuff.
thank you. Like Peter Moon does that as well. Yeah, says yeah.
With what, like gay and
Yeah, yeah.
gay qigong and evil.
Gay homophobic faggot.
Gay-
He's a homophobic faggot.
Gay but hates gays. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
good.
but that's like historical. There's all kinds of people who are like that. Yeah, but
I'm clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
clear.
Like that's what he's saying as he's like falling into the what do they call it in Jujutsu Kaisen? The extra dimension. What is it called?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's I can't.
But that's basically what happened. You did like a domain expansion on his ass, and now he's like lost in your dimension. I'm clear, Doug. I'm clear.
Yes.
We were supposed to be married.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Our kokoro, our heart lines. Yes. Our
Yeah.
heart lines. Yes. Fucking sick.
Yeah, he took the heart line and put it on his dick.
Yes.
He was like, yeah, every time Doug moves, it tugs slightly. Crazy. Like it actually, that's nauseating because it's true. I wish it was a joke.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, so, but I do ask my listeners if anyone can identify, because I'll have to ask V later on. I'm sure she heard it on the radio, but if there's some guy out there on radio or on YouTube who's regurgitating everything I say, but trying to sound, but then there's so many people like that these days. It's just like Brendan says, they're like just picking it off.
Because they're
AI.
just using the AI. They're just like, AI, give me the most,
Right.
give me occult information, and then the AI just finds you for some reason.
It's true. It's true. The AI, and you notice AI tends to talk like me. It's very bizarre.
Guarantee. It's almost verbatim. Like,
Yes.
I think the Dietrich's just trolling you.
Yeah, it's true.
Like GR is just trolling you.
Yeah, it's true.
No offense to GR, but it's just...
yes, we got enough trouble.
I think it's funny. I think it's funny.
It is funny in its own right. Yes, G is trolling me. I mean, she's certainly spreading.
Like, you're the most suppressed person on earth, but the AI uses all your shit. So it's like this weird paradox.
Yes, everybody is regurgitating what I say without knowing anything about me.
Yeah.
It is absolutely bizarre. Yes.
So there you go.
Yeah, and so like I said, the goober I'm talking about, who I rendezvoused with in the alley in Chinatown. He's sitting right outside of City Lights Books on Saturdays and Sundays from 12 to 5 p.m. selling shit he published 30 years ago. Wrote this like
that's good.
And
Space Cadet. Space Cadet.
Yeah, for purely selfish reasons, I am like basically ingratiating myself with this individual. I do need some advice from him, some advisements. He has experienced something where he came out on top with a certain parallel situation that is his insights into that may prove invaluable. That depends on how much of his brain is left functioning. And but the guy is like, he wrote, and I could see why he did this, because he sits there selling his books to people. So in the meantime, he puts out this little sheet of paper, which he says is life's philosophy. Of course, it revealed volumes of V's response to that. It's like, she said, well, if he's not famous and he's not rich, why would anyone want to hear what he has to say? So we see where her judgment values are. But nevertheless, I can see where she's coming from. Why would anyone take someone's life advisements seriously that fit on a sheet of paper, and that he's like peddling books that he's published like 30 years ago at this point, at least, in his senior age? And when I bought one of them, because I did buy a book he had on Lydia Lunch. For those people of you out there who don't know, Lydia Lunch is this chick who was involved providing the voice in a project that I was once involved in, maybe about 20 years ago by now, 10 or 20 years ago by now. But I was involved in a kind of animation project. It wasn't full animation because we couldn't afford that, but it was kind of like a kind of bizarre. It was more like almost those Southeast Asian puppet silhouette kind of animation, but they westernized it. And so there was this project we had going, and she provided the voice for it. I lost all contact with the people who were involved with that. I have no idea where that went after that. But Lydia Lunch was this kind of pornographic actress. Kind of. Really weird. It was like she basically had this electric guitar, which she didn't so much play as strangle. But she was leading leading a succession of bands. Basically, she was the assassin of rock and roll. And so he had this little book on her. It's not little. It's not like pamphlet. It's fairly. How many pages is this thing? But it's small paperback, and it's about. Has he numbered the fucking pages on this thing? About 100. Yeah, about 150 pages. So it's substantial information considering how little is known about this woman. And I didn't know that much about her, even though in a very real sense I worked with her on a project. And she's not exactly a sex bomb, even though she was involved with porn. Obviously, people change as they get older. I wouldn't say she blimped out, but, got a little more chunky. Let's put it that way. But at any rate, so when I purchased the book from him, I said, $15. What the fuck? I said, holy shit, 15 fucking bucks. And it's like, I guess he wrote rare on it. Oh, it's rare. I guess it is rare. Anyhow, he says, a man's got to eat. And at that point, I realized how low this poor bastard had fallen. A man's got to eat? Really? You're retired now. It's like, this is what you're doing in your retirement, is you come here on weekends, sell these books. And the way he would say it, like, people would stop and look at his books, and he'd show them the cover. That's me with William Burroughs. That's me with, some other, subculture icon. And it's like, damn, that's
What's
sad.
with all these old guys and saying shit like that?
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad.
That's like the highlight of their life. I met this random famous guy.
Yeah, that's just, well, look at Peter Moon.
I was in like proximity with them.
Yeah, proximity high. Yeah, they're getting a contact high from this. But with with Peter Moon, it's even worse. Remember, Dr. David Lewis Anderson became his ascendant master, and the fucker only met him a few times, but he would speak about him as God. Yeah. That's why he took the last chapter out with my dad from the book, or the last chapter of my book, as opposed to all the other 20, 30 chapters he was going to add on of his shit. But the last chapter of my part of the book, he took out George Dietrich because that exposed his master as a evanescer. And for some reason, he wanted to hide that about his master. Like,
which I don't understand why that would take. I remember a few years ago when Pete first came up and started talking about, and I was like, Doug, are you going to tell him?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell him his master is a fucking alien? Extra-dimensional.
And remember how he handled it? Was then he started writing poetry about evanescers and shit. Remember that stupid shit? And it was the worst poetry in the world. It was awful.
His newsletter poetry.
Oh God, it's like what you'd find in an insane asylum.
Scribbled on the walls.
Yes, that's right. Oh my God. So you're in hell. What are you willing to share about your experiences in hell recently?
Oh, it's just lovely. It warms, your toes are warm at night. You don't have to worry about that. just that it's just a struggle. It's a daily struggle. I have to, just work and save up enough money to get a place to live. And it's hell on earth. Basically homeless again. It is homelessness again.
It is. Oh my God.
Because of my literal criminal family members that are literally, he steals from his work. So he's criminal. Fucking bastard.
Yes. So. Yeah, don't be afraid to out him. Jesus Christ, he can't sue you.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he did. He took,
Yeah, if he does sue you, Jesus Christ, what's he going to sue you for? It's not...
I would love to go and put all this shit on record because the judge will just be like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yes. Oh, God. Yeah, hopefully... is there anything you can... Since he is a criminal, have you considered reporting that? Is there someone you could report that to?
I mean, if I really wanted to be vindictive, I could just report him to his own job. I mean, he works for Apple Corp. They would definitely not be happy about someone skimming off the top of these old phones that are no longer working, that he's like swooping and taking home and using them for his own ends and shit. Taking them to Thailand to fuck little boys or whatever he does.
Why else would anyone go to Thailand other than to fuck children of either sex?
And he like didn't post anything about his trip to Thailand.
I'm
like, what did you guys do?
That says everything.
He wouldn't tell me anything about it. He went with 3 dudes from his work that are all like basically closeted homos that he works with that he's known for years. They're like skeptical. Not that that's anything wrong with that. It's just skeptical. Their orientation is skeptical, let's put it that way. But they like go on this secret trip to Thailand, and I'm like, where did you guys go? He's like, oh, I went to Phuket Island. I'm like, what did you do? Oh, sipping beers on a beach. I'm like, do you have any photos? And then he shows me a photo of like a rock. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That looks nice. And this guy doesn't take photos of any nature.
No, he's not a nature photographer. No Ansel Adams. He's no Ansel Adams. No.
Yeah. Like, that's what I do. And he always talks shit, so I know he didn't take that photo.
Thank you.
And I'm like, what did you guys do there? Oh, just drank and, had fun. And all this. This was when we were on good terms, so he was like,
basically, he's alluding to the rock is his cock. He was rock hard all the while he was there. That's what he's telling you.
With the lady boys.
Yeah. Which, in case people don't know out there, and I don't see how people could not know this, Thailand is world famous or infamous for its cross-dressers and transvestites and transgenders. They are like, they're just notorious. And so people go there from all over the world to fuck the ladyboys. Yes. And
and the guys that go there are always old
yes.
white dudes from Silicon Valley.
Yes. Yes.
And or what was that guy's name? Was it Art Bell or who was the other?
Oh,
guy?
Art Bell and
Norrie?
Yeah, George Norrie. Yeah, all those types.
One of them lived there in the Philippines or something.
Oh, whoa, yeah, that was, Art Bell was living in the Philippines,
Yeah,
but I'm sure he did his time in Thailand, his stints in Thailand. All that fucker ever did was he was all he went for was yellow pussy. That was it. His whole every wife he had was Okinawan. The first 2 wives were Okinawan. Then he married a Filipina and then murdered her so he could marry her fucking sister. Her kid sister or kid cousin.
So yeah. So if my uncle was like actually normal, he could pull that off. But he's just a normal American. Let's say.
Yeah, he's too dorky for even that. Your uncle's too.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Yeah, totally. But it's racist. It's racist because these men would be afraid to fuck a white young girl because of repercussions. But exactly. But then beyond that, maybe that's not so racist. It's more like circumstantial. But they're still pedophiles. But the whole point is somehow they feel that. I think it goes. Really, this is how it vibes with me. It vibes that they don't consider what they're doing to young Asian girls or boys wrong because somehow they don't really consider them humans. It's like, I'll go over there.
Exactly.
Yeah, fuck these kids, but that's okay because they're not really human like white kids, and therefore that's not somehow. They think it's not morally. It's somehow morally excusable or not reprehensible.
For the ones that aren't morally bankrupt. My uncle probably doesn't give a fuck. He's so scum.
Yeah. He wouldn't have a concept of what morality is, right?
Exactly.
Morality? Totally. What's that? Yeah.
He's literally said that. He's literally said shit like that.
And you know what? They pick that stuff up from their quote unquote self-improvement courses, whatever they're taking from Tony Robbins.
The red pill shit.
Yeah, red pill shit plus Tony Robbins.
This fucker was like knuckle deep in the red pill, up like fingering Tate's ass and shit.
Oh man, was he really? What a
yeah. He was like you're a beta, and I'm like, dude, you don't even know what that means. Like you're You're like bowing down to this Latina lady every time she comes over. Like you're you're below beta. Like what the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Like he's the, what is it when they put the chain on you and step on you?
Like
he's that level.
Yes. Like, just a bitch.
They like ball gag him and shit. Yeah.
Oh, he's a fucking bitch. Yeah. They have a word for it, simps. Also.
Yeah, he's a simp. Thank you. And but he's saying he thinks he's alpha. He's like, I'm an alpha. It's like, dude, you don't even know what that means.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's so sickening because it's like it's just brain rot. Just total fucking brain rot.
Yeah, it is. His brain is rot.
Yeah. And what is it the Blood Boys would say about it? They say his condition is PDF to brain rot. They call it PDF to brain rot.
Yeah, literally. He's like fucking below chimp level, like this dude. I was like telling him, I just need time to get out, and he's like, get out now, and starts like literally tweaking out. It's like, dude, you're fucking dumb.
Yes, definitely. It's and it just he's gonna pay the price. He's gonna die young. Oh,
of course.
So get this shit. So then when I'm talking to a goober over there in the alleyway, and I said,
can we go over some of his points of life, or is that too much detail?
Oh, I'd have to drag that out of my bag because I brought it with me to show V, and like
he's
I said,
spontaneous.
It's
like what else am I gonna be?
Just awful. It is just artsy fartsy, hippy dippy. When I told him, when I was sitting there, I told V this. I was sitting there and I told him, I'm the guy who shut the Presidio military base down.
What did he say? Don't wear hats or something? It was like absurd shit.
Just stupid shit. It was like, basically, The one thing that shone through was he was fucked over by his partner, and we won't go into the details of that because the Team Dietrich already knows about it. The public doesn't need to know about it just yet. But he was fucked over at one point by a person he had partnered with. And so that comes out in that bitterness comes out in his life's rules of, don't work with anyone, do it all yourself.
Right, that's what it was.
Yeah, you can do it all yourself. And it's like,
let's put it this way, I ain't building a house.
Yeah, so. Thank you. I ain't growing my own food.
I could probably build a shed.
Yeah, that's yeah. No, I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't do that to save my fucking soul. It's like, did I tell you Brooke's got a fucking pet pig now? She mentioned that on air. I don't know if that's true or not, but
she's
I think
got a pig.
Yeah, a pig. She's got a pig now.
Holy crap.
Called Fuck My Life. Yeah, and
like an actual piglet. Like
Piglet, yeah, that she named Fuck My Life. That's
what is she doing collecting Pokemon? What the heck is wrong with her?
yeah, it's like maybe it's a replacement for Larry. Daniel Letty.
We gotta go over there and Javier Bardem Daniel so she can get rid of him, like cattle prod his head or whatever.
Yeah.
What was that film?
Oh, I forget. It was
No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
We gotta just end it quick.
That's it. Yeah, the cattle killer. The cattle killer. Yeah.
Do you want to play a game? Flip a coin. And if the coin lands on whatever he doesn't call, we just go quick.
Yeah. By the way, they also use that to kill the wife of Vin Diesel in that stupid Bloodshot film where he's supposed to be the nano plasma hero. So it's called Bloodshot.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they use the same cattle killing mechanism to kill his wife.
The air gun, the air eliminator. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know how it fucking works. It's this,
it's a pneumatic striker, like a giant needle that just severs your spinal cord.
But it's just for all the listeners out there, it's a really inefficient tool for an assassin. I mean, you're carrying around like a fire extinguisher. It's like carrying around a fucking fire extinguisher. It's like
and they show that in the movie. He's like the lamest assassin ever.
Yeah. It's
I don't know why that movie was so popular. I didn't really get. Maybe I just didn't get it.
It's really weird. The character Shigur, I forget the guy who plays him. Yeah. But he's for some reason.
His name is Javier Bardem.
Oh, okay. Oh, got it. That's the actor.
Okay,
yes. Which people have written me. People have told me he looks like me, which I could see the resemblance, sort of. But but at any rate, maybe he acts like me, sort of, to a degree. But I'm not offended in any way. It's complimentary in its own weird way. But
he's like monotone. I don't know what that's about.
Well, he's foreign, get it? He's European. So to many people, he's sinister. He's sinister because they think of him as Dracula-like, foreign. He's in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's threatening, to them. But the thing about him is that it's not worth it what he's doing. He's carrying around this fucking fire extinguisher-sized implement that's so awkward, so clumsy. You got to get a person to stand still, which is why he asks people to stand still when he kills them. You see that? He says,
that's the whole trip.
Yeah. Is that people are hypnotized by him and then they stand still and he blows them away. It's almost comical. So I can see what Brendan is saying. What is there to this guy? Why are people impressed by this? But it's probably the other scenes where he's when he's battling it out with the shotgun with the Mexicano mafia, then people were probably deeply impressed by that. They like the silent shotgun. They do like that. So it's like this guy had it all. And I do appreciate in the end where he was just they did show that he was disturbed. He was disturbed by the last woman that he killed. And he was disturbed enough where he crashed. And then he came out of the car with that broken arm and basically gave the kids $100 bill and said, "You didn't see me." And then they start fighting with each other over the $100 bill, at which point he's completely forgotten. So it served its purpose. And, so he escapes. But it is what it is. All such being said,
But that's what I was just saying. We got to do that to Daniel because apparently Brooke can't handle it.
Yeah, it's true. We got to do
it.
that to Daniel, and we'll treat him like an animal because she loves animals. Then we'll see if she misses that animal. She wants his dick. It's his fucking bent dick she loves. She's addicted to his bent dick because it stimulates her vaginally in a way that no other cock has. It's like, get a fucking plastic dildo. Oh, he's killed all her dildos.
Make a mold and there you go.
Mm.
Talk to Victoria about the glass reproductions.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. Christine,
yeah.
Christine, and the glass reproductions of the black man's penis. 9-inch dick Phil. Yeah. Remember 6-inch dick John?
They were all like, it's almost like there was like a wall of like, it wasn't the person, it was just their,
it's just penis. Their
profile.
It's just, every man was remembered by the penis.
12-inch Dave.
Yes.
It was crazy. That was crazy.
Yes. That was how they remembered the men in their lives. Oh my God.
Yeah. Talk about subjective. Yeah.
Yes. Thank God you're out of that crowd, Victoria. Oh my God.
Yes.
But
she's a born again, so she's good.
There we are. Yes. Or at least not involved with that. Christine. Yes. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Oh my God. So then when I told V, V and I both have a lot of Chinese friends, so I said, gee, I feel really sorry for Rose. I hate to see what'll happen in this administration when they start the new yellow peril wave. And then
it's not funny, but it's just
it's awful.
We're going back in time and shit.
Oh yeah, it's all backwards. It's so
what kind of Chinamen are you?
Yeah.
It's like we're getting to that point.
Like, it's just it's so primitive. It's so and then V said, and this is, I'm not making fun of her. It's just a lot of people get this idea, well, if they start picking on the Chinese, they should pick on, I don't remember whether she included black African Americans, but she certainly included Mexicans. And she said, and then these, maybe some other ethnic American Indians, because we're all related. We all come from the same place. And I said, where did you get this? And then she said, oh, I took a genetics test. I took a gene test, and I found out I'm American Indian. And I never thought I was, but, then I realized it was because we all came over from the Bering Strait. And I said, I knew what she was going to say, but I had to ask. I said, where did you take your genetics test? Oh, 23andMe. And she said, they go really
It's
deep.
almost like they were just like shuffling a hat full of like paper strips and just drawing straws and shit for people's when she 1% of this.
Yeah. When she told me they go really deep, I felt like telling her they pile it up deep, all right, honey. Yeah, they pile it up deep. They'll just say it's exactly like Brendan said. They're spinning a fucking wheel or they're throwing dice. They have in role-playing games, exactly. The D20, the 20-sided dice in role-playing games. They're rolling a D20 and or two of them to simulate your, whatever genetic strands.
One's a haplogroup and one's a blood type. It's just like they just roll it.
Yeah, and and then they'll just tell you, and they'll make certain to tell you the most off the wall, whatever they know you are. It's like, send us genes, and then the gene will say you're black or it'll say you're white. Then they'll tell you the exact opposite. Right. They'll tell you the exact opposite because they have some kind of evil political agenda where they'll tell all blacks they're Vikings and shit, and all whites that they're like they're Zulus.
That's what happened with that Penny Bradley guy, I'm sure.
Yeah, Penny Bradley.
What was his name? Her producer. He was like, "I'm a Viking."
And there you go. There you go.
And he was like super African. It's like, dude,
I never thought of that.
It's fine.
It's
fine to appreciate your culture, ancient culture or whatever. But like, he was like, he didn't even want to be African.
No. He was Uncle fucking Ruckus. That was Uncle Ruckus. Yeah.
That's exactly what
the fuck was his name again? It was like, God damn.
I think was his name. Randall or Neely.
Daryl Neely of Global Entertainment Network, I think, GEN.
Yeah. And then he went to January 6th.
Yes,
an idiot.
He went to January 6th. You've never heard of him again. They've put him in a concrete hole. And you can bet your sweet ass, whatever color your ass is, you can bet it. You can lay it on the line. Trump will not pardon Daryl Neely. That's like, Daryl Neely will rot.
He probably thought that was gonna save him. He's like, I'm a Viking. You guys can't do this to me. And they're like,
oh,
okay.
Dude, he was as much of a Viking as, who was the guy with the nipple clamps who was there in the fucking Viking suit? The guy who claimed he was vegan and shit.
The shaman.
QAnon shaman. The QAnon shaman.
The dude that was living in his mom's basement.
Yes, well, they all do. They all do. That's what Daryl Neely was doing. Was living in his mom's basement. That's what Jambo
Like, she
the
like
Waste
packed
Monkey.
him a lunch. Where are you going?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just going to I'm going to the Capitol. And she's like, here's your lunch.
Remember, his mother was the proof that Penny Bradley offered for her being a space cadet. Was that?
No way. You're joking.
Yes. Daryl Neely's mother said that I was, in a secret space program, because Daryl Neely's mother was some kind of quote unquote, paper shuffler for some federal agency, and she might have claimed she was the secretary over at the CIA or something. She might have been, at the photocopy machine. That brings me back to Goober. So Goober, when I was asking him about an old girlfriend of his. Because I said, do you remember me by now? And I said, what about your girlfriend? I remember her. And she was this German-descended American woman. And I remember her last name now. I think her first name was Kathy or Catherine. But her last name was Ruther. Very, very, like the name. It's a very funny name, Ruther. Yes. And anyhow, so Ruther. And I said... I know she broke up with you. And I said, whatever happened to her? And he said, she died. And I was like, what?
Holy shit.
I said, she was barely older than myself. But then again, he looks like he's 100. And, but she was barely older than myself. And I said, she was much younger than you, wasn't she? He said, yeah, she died of cancer. And then, so here's what I knew about her when she was young. When I knew her, I knew that she was working with Xerox. And at one point I said, oh, I'm looking for a job. Maybe I can move into your position at Xerox. And I realized I had offended her ego and I apologized when she told me, you can't take my job at Xerox because it's something that takes a lot of training and it took years of experience. And it basically, she made it sound, she never really specified, but I thought she was like...
Why do they all do that? Yeah.
Well, at any rate, I thought she was like an administrator or executrix type, but it turned out when I spoke to him about it, I finally asked him, what did she do for Xerox? And he said, oh, she repaired photocopy machines. They gave her a company car, and she was going around this company car, and she was fixing the Xerox machines. I said, that's what killed her with the cancer. That's what it was.
All the toner.
Thank you. Thank you. It got into her blood. Oh, that shit. It's so sad. That is just... They were a piece of shit company. And, oh my God, no wonder she was paid so well. They knew they were killing her. Because I was wondering why she was paid so well. She did mention, I knew from her over the years that she was paid extremely well. And, I didn't know about her having her own company car, but it makes sense. She had her own company car, would go around and fix the machines, and that killed her. Nothing is worth that. Fuck. Poor dear. That's so sad. So sad. I kept asking myself, why is she dead while you're alive? So I told him, what they say, only the good die young. And he's like, I don't think that sunk through with him. What I was insinuating. But, yes, our man Brendan's gone mute. He's probably being accosted again under laser fire. For those of you who don't know, there was some kid with a toy laser that was outside of the Amazon store that he was at, where I wonder what he was trying to get at the Amazon store. We'll ask him when he comes back. And here we are, another Dietrich-inspired anime character shown by our dear friend T-Tank Barry in the private text. And so it looks like speaking by myself for a few minutes. I'll do my best to burn bandwidth Like I told everybody, it's going to be a slow start tonight while I build up steam. And then I don't know how long I'm going to last before I feel the need to just kind of quit early so that I can have a full day's sleep. Wait a second, I can't have a full day's sleep because it's fucking Christmas. I will be catching some sleep. But yes, whatever time the show ends, sun doesn't pick me up till 10, so maybe I'll get a few hours sleep. Then it's Byzantine Orthodox Christmas Eve day, so I'll be working with the estate, and then we're going to... Yes, you're back. Excellent.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back.
And so I told the people that... What were you trying to get at the Amazon store? What
Cash back. I was trying to get cash back to do my laundry, and they're like, we don't do that.
Stupid. Yeah.
Because this laundry place only accepts quarters for some strange reason. Like it's the 80s still over here.
Now, why are you so conscientious about keeping your clothes clean? Not that that's anything to, dismiss or make fun of, but you always have been very conscientious about keeping your clothes clean. I've noticed over the years you often are speaking to us from a laundromat.
Yeah.
What is that about? Is that because you're getting dirty a lot with your job, or?
Yeah, mostly the job, but also just like it's just
okay.
You got to keep some. Not all just live in a crypt. I mean.
Yes, true. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Touche.
Yeah.
Touche. Well taken. I mean, are you sure it's yeah.
Yeah.
It's
that's just what it is.
Yeah. Oh, and V purchased me dust mite repellent pillow covers. I've got dust mite repellent pillow covers, people.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, so at least your bed can be like a little haven.
Yes. Yeah. Well, my gang brother Beaver says my head will bounce right off of them because the pillows will reject me now.
You're a giant dust mite.
Yeah, I'm a giant dust mite. He thinks I'm like Kafka. Remember Kafka? The guy woke up as a giant cockroach. Yeah, Beaver claims I'm a giant dust mite.
He was messed up.
Yeah, yeah, Kafka was Jewish. It's like,
right. I don't know why people thought he was like, was his literature really that good? I never even had the stomach to read it. It seemed dreary and boring.
It's depressing shit. I don't find it appealing myself. Yeah, so you know what it is? He's Jewish, so they think he's brilliant. It's like
just automatically.
Yeah, it's just automatically that. It's like he's Jewish. It must be good. Is what it comes down to.
He hated them. I thought. I got the impression that he hated his own culture.
I'm sure there's plenty of Jews like that.
Yeah.
It's like, and can you blame them? It's kind of like,
Not really.
Yeah, it just is what it is. I mean, later on, out of necessity, inescapably, I'm going to have to, go back to the Jewish subject when I talk about what's going on in the new year, and obviously.
Did you see that thing I sent you about WolfSchanze?
Oh, tell us about this, because I haven't had a chance yet to go over everything. You sent a lot.
Clip.
Oh, is that Hitler discovers the internet? Yes. So tell us about this.
It was a clip from. I forgot what's the English title.
The English title is "He's Back."
He's back. Or look who's back. It's like Vida is like Vida da. It's a strange conjugation. It's basically like look who's back now.
Yes.
Or something.
Yes, look
That's
who's
what
back.
It translates to.
Look who's back.
Yeah,
that would be the title. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so that was a film that you showed me, but like a clip came up where he's like on the internet, and she's like, "Make your username," and he's like, "This is in German. It's a German film." And he's like WolfSchanze, and she's like, nicht, it's not ready. Someone already took it, and then she's like, WolfSchanze 6 is available, and he's like, "No, I don't want the number 6." So it's just funny, and I sent it to Doug about that. But WolfSchanze is like a wolf lair.
There we are.
Wolf's lair.
Yes. I definitely need to review that again. Thank you for that. And
what do you think about that film?
The film is interesting because it has a very ambiguous ending. There's really basically it's you. Have you seen the film?
Just those clips.
Okay. So what happens is at the end of the film,
I know you used it in a reel, but we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
I know you used it in a reel.
Yeah, that's right, because we don't want the enemy to attack that again. We've had to replace that several times, re-upload that several times. And we've had to protect the Korean. There's a young Korean girl who sings the song for that video, and we had to protect her identity because of the threat she's gotten.
And I appreciate the film's there's a little bit of propagandistic stuff they had to put in, obviously, for you know, everyone knows why.
Yeah, what do you call them? Disclaimers. Disclaimers. Go on. Yeah,
disclaimers, just so they didn't get a lot of flack, even though they got flack because, you know, the J-Man is super sensitive. But you know, but overall, I think I agree with your assessment that that's probably how most people would react if they saw Hitler. They'd be all happy and shit.
Oh yeah.
They'd be like laughing, like, "Oh, it's Hitler."
Yeah. It's like, everywhere he goes, people love him, and so then what happens is a bunch of, you know, dumb shits get frightened and say we've got to kill him, and then in the end, what happens is some lone wolf assassin attempts to kill him. But he can't be killed, and he's basically saying, "You don't understand. I'm not merely human. I'm like an avatar. Like I'm basically representing something that cannot be killed. I am beyond that. And in other words, I'm an idea. You can't kill an idea." And so that's basically the end of the film. It ends with that. So it's a very ambiguous ending. And then they give a little lecture in the end of, "Oh, beware, you know, don't fall for dictators," that kind of bullshit, you know, where they show some of the race riots in Germany and some of the, you know, militant flag waving at soccer games and shit. And they're like, you know, be guilty, feel guilty for being German, you know, or something like that. Don't go too far with it, that kind of shit. And, you know, but that's only a few minutes.
How did they cover the Jewish subject? Did he ever encounter that in the film?
He's speaking to a very old lady who was like a child during the war at one point, and she's like, all those deaths, and he's like, yeah, it was terrible, but he's handling it like a politician. Everything he's handling is just very adroitly like a politician, where he's telling these people, he commiserates with people, but throughout the film they show people of all races, except for people who are no one overtly Jewish, but blacks, Asians, they're all with him, and they're all like grooving, being in his presence, and he's friendly with all of them. But obviously,
like when he's in the taxi.
Yes.
I think it's a black guy or something.
Yes.
And then the guy's like playing some rap song, and he's like, "What is this? Why are they saying nigga? Why are they saying nigga?" And he's like, "You know, it's good. Like it's like brother. Like it's Tabe Bruder." Or, you know, he's like, I thought that was hilarious.
Yes, it is.
He's trying to explain to him like how it evolved.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, he's basically trying to catch on to the modern world, but the internet.
He's like, "What is this noise? Like, why is it noisy?" You know,
yes. And then there's and what happens is all the people on the internet are saying how cool he is. Yeah, look at him, he's back, he's cool. Yeah, and so it's like a film that shows that. And
that's the reality of it is that if that happened. Somehow he got teleported back to this time. It would be like, we're talking, he would sell out stadiums. It would, like, no doubt.
Yes.
Like no one would be sitting there crying like, "You're evil." They'd be like, "Yeah, woo."
Yeah." And then what happened was on YouTube, somebody did one of the I can't even remember, one of those little info. There's these different types of YouTube channels where they do history, and one of them said if he really did come back, it wouldn't be like the movie at all. He'd be put in prison. And it's, first off, how can you put someone in prison who is legally dead? Then you'd say if he's legally alive, then you put him in prison, but then it's like their logic didn't really hold. It's kind of like, by the way, there is a book now that's called The Trial of Adolf Hitler, which is not to be confused with the historical book called The Trial of Adolf Hitler in English. So just so people understand, Hitler was put on trial. This was after the, help me out here, the beer hall putsch. So after the beer hall putsch, he was put on trial and he was sentenced to jail. So Hitler has been on trial, and one could literally say he had a criminal history. But when it comes to the fiction book, there is a novel titled The Trial of Adolf Hitler, which people can look up.
I'm going to go back in here and check on something, but I'll
Sure.
be here with you. Just
Understood.
And Troy's on for some reason. Maybe he wants to talk about this.
Oh, okay. Great. Well, thank you for joining us, Troy. Just let me finish up a little summation here. He's put on trial by the United Nations and is instantly a great threat to the world order because he's basically stating a lot of geopolitical, taking a geopolitical stance that many of the third world nations feels offers them a third path from what at that time the book was published was Soviet and American domination. And then at the end of the book, of course, in order for it to be published at all, he's turned over to Israel for execution and is taken out and killed by a Israeli Defense Force paratrooper, where he's executed in the end of the book. But other than that, he's already made his mark on the world and has reassured the resurgence of Nazism is the theme of that book. That's the kind of ambiguous ending to that book as well. All of these endings are fairly ambiguous. But Troy Bellamy, thank you for joining us. After all this time, you are in enemy territory. You are in Florida where they're allowing Trump to vote despite the fact that he's a convicted felon. And convicted felons cannot vote in Florida, but the rationalization is that Trump was convicted outside of the state of Florida. You're going to see a lot of this. And so please join us and tell us what's on your mind and share with us all that you feel comfortable sharing about what your holidays have been like. Oh my God, how's your family?
Everybody's great, man. Just wanted to say Happy New Year to everybody, to the Dietrich. I listen every Wednesday, every Sunday. Sometimes I just sit back and listen because I've had some early days, being in the education system. But had a great holiday. Family was around, and we just enjoyed the cooler weather here in Florida. Finally, normally we go to the beach on Christmas the last couple of years.
Yeah, you're kind of muffled there. Wait, are you talking into a pillow or?
I have my Bluetooth on. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me see if I can switch it.
Hey, thank you. Yes, please. I mean, we can make out what you're saying, but we'd definitely want to hear you with a higher quality of sound.
All right, is that better?
Infinitely better. Oh my fucking God! Thank God for that. Oh God, that was so awful. Again, now that everybody can hear you and get the full rich tone of your voice, by all means, tell us about your family's doing well. You've been to the beach.
Yeah.
Summarize that again, and then tell us about the developing political situation or the spiraling political situation, by all means, in Florida.
Well, we had a great holiday. Like I said, my family was here. We really enjoyed each other, and it was beautiful weather, nice and cool. Actually, I got to sit outside and use my little fire pit, and it was really nice. But as far as on the political landscape, man, it is getting more and more treacherous here. Recently, everybody knows about what happened with New College and down here in Sarasota. New College used to be a liberal, it used to be a hippie haven, basically. A bunch of kids out sitting out on the lawn throwing frisbees, smoking doobs, and just having a good time playing the guitar and stuff. And a lot of smart people who just like to live that type of lifestyle, very carefree, very, very hippie oriented. And now it's turned into a bastion of conservatism. They're burning books. They've taken all. They just showed a video the other day where the janitors and the librarians were throwing away thousands and thousands of books, textbooks, other books that they have deemed to be DEI or what they feel are what's the word where they talk about indoctrinating
woke.
People.
They call it woke.
They have zero idea. See, woke. Let me tell you this. Woke was a term that we use in the black community, on black Twitter and black social media, when you start learning about some of the things like what some of the things that you have taught me about, like the recent movie that Tyler Perry made, the 688. Nobody knows about that. Nobody knew about the 555 smoke jumpers that you taught me about, and all that kind of stuff that happened. And when you start learning about that, and you start learning some of the other great accomplishments that we know as black people, we know, but we don't talk about it all the time. And then sometimes history gets changed. They say somebody else invented this, somebody else invented that, and you find out, wait a minute, a person of color, a black person developed this, or they did it in conjunction with somebody like the telephone, or the telephone and the monofilament, in the light bulb. You know what I'm saying? Edison gets all the credit, but nobody talks about Lewis Lattimore, who developed the filament that made the light bulb continue to burn.
That's
just
incredible.
Little things like that.
Yes.
And when you learn these things, it's not so much that it becomes a weaponized piece of knowledge. It's something that you learn, something you weren't aware of. It enlightens you. And they took that term. When we would say we're waking up to what our possibilities are here in America, they took it as a bad term to mean some sort of regret or some sort of revenge motive against white people. Nobody wants revenge.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to castigate people who... all these things that happened to African Americans in this country happened 150, 200 years ago. Now, we're not saying you're responsible for it. However, you can't deny that you haven't benefited by having a 200-year head start economically, emotionally, politically, legally in this country. And that's all people are doing, is saying, hey, we can have these same possibilities if we make certain moves. And that's why everybody was so much against Trump. But what happens again, sometimes people can become afraid because all you have to do is use violence. This is what the Klan used to do.
Yes.
They knew they were wrong, but they could always use violence to try and advance their means.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so what happens is, when that happens, guess what black folks do? They okay, man, I don't want to fight. Now, it's ironic because we'll fight and argue with each other, but we won't take up arms. Think about this. There have been 2 marches on Washington by African Americans. The March on Washington in 1963 and the Million Man March. Not one incident of violence, of lawlessness, of attacks against the police or anything.
Yes. And
And tomorrow we will celebrate the 4-year anniversary of the attack against the Capitol.
yes.
And this is crazy.
God.
And that's just, I just can't believe that we're still going. We're going to have to go through this again 4 more years.
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and it will. I'll go into some of the seriousness of this in monologue, just how bad and how serious it is, and it's. You've heard me speak of that before, but I'm so glad to have you on to speak of this. And yes, it is true when these terms. DEI, for instance, the very term, the acronym DAY, as I said, means divine, means God. And when they say we're anti-DEI, they're really exposing something. They're really anti-divine. They're anti-God. I
hadn't heard that. That's good.
Yeah, and it's but it's a point to be made because it really shows.
I think the irony about that is they're saying it's forcing people to hire unqualified people. And it's like, well, all the Indians and African Americans that got educated are the ones with the highest level of education. So that just is ironic that they're saying it's going to be the least qualified people will get in automatically. It's like, that's like, if you just look at the stats, that's not the case, which is why he had to fight. Go ahead. Musk versus Trump thing.
The real rub about all of this DEI, affirmative action, all that pushback is because this is the same argument that people who still are battling the Civil War and are still making, because the only way that African Americans could participate in this American experiment since we came to the shores is because and through federal government laws. A law had to be passed for us to use the same bathrooms. A law had to be passed for us to be not attacked by the police.
Right.
A law
straight up amendment, right? It's like straight up constitutional amendment.
These federal legislation had to be enacted. And so these grievance mongers are saying, we're forced to do this by the government. This is why they're anti-government. It's not so much that it doesn't make sense. It's not so much that they're even against integration or separate but equal in education. It's the very fact that the federal government, they felt they were forced to do it, like they were forced to release the slaves when Lincoln was president. It's the same mindset. And that's what they don't want. They don't want the government to do. So that's why Donald Trump would even, the whole Roe versus Wade was an experiment to see if they could go back to the Civil War mentality, states' rights.
That's right.
His thing was, I didn't take away Roe versus Wade. I just kicked it back to the states. Well, okay. This is what happened during Obama's presidency. You see, when Obama was president, that's when they passed the Citizens United and they weakened the Civil Rights Act. Oh, there's no more racism anymore. We're in a post-racist society. Look, we got a black president. We don't have to do the pre-certification for voting and all this kind of stuff anymore in the South. And immediately as soon as Obama became president, they started the voter ID laws. They started all changing the gerrymandering the districts. Right now, if the districts were the same when Obama was president 20 years ago, Kamala Harris would be president. She lost by a few thousand votes.
Yes.
When you look at it, she lost only by a few thousand votes, and those votes are from the gerrymandered districts that they had. That's why we could have just not even had a national election. All you had to do was count the votes in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and
the swing states. It's so awful.
Three swing states.
Yeah.
You just count those votes in those areas, and basically that is the difference between who won and who lost. Even when Trump won the first time against Hillary Clinton, there's no way. There were 5 living presidents at the time Hillary Clinton ran, and they all endorsed her. How in the world did Donald Trump? Because the Republicans and the Tea Party people and all the people changed the legislation once Obama became president, and they had 8 years to practice at the numbers and get the numbers right, so that no matter what, no matter how anybody else voted, they could always rule from the minority. They didn't necessarily want it. They were surprised that it worked when Trump won the first time. That's why they didn't know what to do.
Yes.
They were like, oh my God, it worked.
Yeah, they didn't expect it to work. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Go on.
Yeah, and this is why Project 2025 has its life, because now they know, okay, well, we know we can we can manipulate the numbers, and if we do get this opportunity again, now we can change all the laws back from the pre-civil rights era, so that we don't have to have the government force us to make our kids go to school. We'll do away with the Department of Education, which says you got to have equal money and equal education and this, that, and that. We'll do away with vaccines and health care, because now all these black kids have health insurance.
Yes.
Whereas before they didn't have health insurance.
Yes.
So
that's right.
I hate to put it in black and white terms, because I know there are so many more people who have their hearts in the right place. But the whole reason for Donald Trump to be the president of the United States is to preserve the ability for a certain group to maintain power, no matter whether they're in the majority or the minority.
That's right.
And they want to enact laws and rules that will restrict full participation economically, legally, and financially in this country. That's the bottom line.
Yes. Yes, very much so, and try to perpetuate it. They can't perpetuate it for very long, of course, because there's simply too few of them, and they're a dying demographic, and that's why they're so frightened.
It would take another 50 years. I mean, think about it. Dr. King has been dead for 50 plus years now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It took 50 years. It took 50 years to basically solidify all the civil rights that they had fought for during that time in the 60s. For it really to kind of catch on so that everybody could participate. You know, then you get the gay rights, you know, gay marriage and all that kind of stuff. You know, I don't have to agree with that lifestyle, but guess what? They have rights too. People have rights.
Yes.
And they're trying to strip those rights away slowly through the federal government. They don't like the federal government, but once they get control of the federal government, then they'll use it to strip all those rights and strip all those benefits from being an American from these people.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And go on.
When you listen, I'm sorry. I'm go ahead.
Oh no! Please continue. I'm very, very much in agreement with what you're saying, and can only commend you. And basically, I encourage you to continue, because obviously you are a teacher, and I think that this is your opportunity to do some teaching besides what you do at school, which is mostly dry mathematics, correct? I mean, mostly what you're teaching the kids are mathematics, and God, that would kill me. Oh my, how do you fucking do it?
It's tough. It's tough. But it's all philosophy. Mathematics is philosophy as well. And once you teach them how to think about problems, how to solve problems, then it becomes easy. Then they can also audit themselves and find out, wait a minute, maybe I wasn't thinking about this problem right the first time. And then they can go back and correct themselves. Well, you know, when you hear them talk about the border, you know, the border is supposed to be the #1 issue. And I'm gonna tell you this: I'm a conspiracy theorist, you know, undercover.
Yes.
But it seems mighty fishy to me. You have 2 attempts on Trump's life, and then you have these back-to-back so-called terrorist activities that happen right before he gets to be inaugurated.
Yes.
You know, these things just don't happen in a vacuum like that.
No.
You know, and all this border talk, the real reason why they're concerned about the border is twofold. One, the Constitution allows for people to make sure that they can take up arms under the Second Amendment if there is an invasion. And this is why you hear them always say, there's an invasion at the border. There's an invasion. No, there's not. Coming over. Now, they're also, what they're doing is, they're also showing their racism. Man, the system needs to be fixed. I'm not going to even try to act like the system doesn't need to be fixed. But what happened is, this is why 9/11 to me was, you know I'm going to say about that. But anyway.
But feel free to say it anyway.
Those guys came across the border to come into the country. Now, a lot of these people can't tell the difference between an Arab person and a Hispanic person. They look very much the same. Their skin color, their hair.
That's true. That's true.
So this is why they can't. So that's why they want to shut the border down, or maybe throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, let's get everybody out, and we'll let them come back in under some other convoluted process, or we'll make it bad enough to where they don't even want to come back, you know, and that kind of thing. Yes. But that's why they do that. They can't tell that one. They can't. It's part of what their argument is under the Second Amendment. That's why I keep saying they have to use the term invasion, because if it's not an invasion, then they're not allowed to have certain weapons. They're not allowed to take up arms. Then you can make a better argument against the Second Amendment in terms of automatic weapons and weapons of war, pistols, rifles, things like that. People are going to always have those.
Yes.
But you don't need AR-15 to protect your house. You don't need an AK-47 to protect your house. You know, I'm just saying. But if you got one, hey, if you're an enthusiast and you use it at the range, or you go way out in the woods somewhere and let it off a few times, I don't care. But again, like I said, the biggest issue is that they cannot tell the difference between an Arab and a Hispanic person. And that's why they just say, well, let's just get there. Let's not even let anybody in. And unfortunately, it affects the people that they also hate too, that are coming across the border, which are the Haitians. A lot of Haitians are leaving Haiti and coming into the border and coming into the country through Honduras and then through Mexico.
Yes.
I got students that speak 3 or 4 languages, Haitian students, born in Haiti, come live in Honduras for 2-3 years, come in through Mexico, and they speak 3-4 different languages. They
And
speak
there's such incredible
Spanish and dialect from the jungles.
Yes, and they're such incredibly intelligent people. I mean, you can tell people about that. They're better with math than most of your other students, I would bet.
Super intelligent. They may struggle a little bit with math only because of the language barrier, but they're super intelligent. They're super driven. They're really good kids, and they're not going to cause anybody any problems.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
And so that's where you run into those issues. But yeah, man, I mean, this area in Florida now has turned into a conservative tinderbox, only because so many people, and it's crazy because so many people down here are on the social programs, the benefit programs, whether it's food stamps, Medicare, Medicaid. I mean, Florida is probably that's why Rick Scott got so wealthy down here. And, good Lord, God forbid he ever gets a hold of anything in the federal government.
Yes.
Much less Marco Rubio. They're talking about making Marco Rubio. Was he the Secretary of State or something like that?
I shudder to think. I'd have to look it up. Honestly, it's almost impossible to keep track of it's a rogues gallery of criminals that they're trying to, basically. It's a kleptocracy of government by criminals. But go on. Yes, continue. Led by a convicted felon, no less. Convicted. Yeah.
Yep. And it also, the irony can't be lost on anyone. They talk all this America first, this, that, and the other. And you got Kash Patel, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah, that's what's crazy about all this. Is like
Trump's Slovenian wife. I mean, my God.
Yeah. Same with the people I know. It's like they're all immigrants.
Come on, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Every single one.
And Elon Musk, as you've heard me emphasize, is an illegal fucking immigrant. He started off as illegal, yes, from South Africa. Him and Peter Thiel are a couple of South Africans who are trying to basically reinstate.
And it's cool.
Yeah, go on. It's cool. What is that, Brendan?
I was just saying it's cool when it's a golden passport because they paid into the system, but when it's not, then you got to get them out.
Oh my God! But these motherfuckers, what they're trying to do is reinstate apartheid in the United States.
That's it.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't trust.
But what is that? What is the benefit of that?
There is.
It's like they're crazy. They're just crazy.
Thank you. It's not. There's no. What is the? What?
Kicking out all the workers. What are you gonna do without food? It's just insane.
Thank you.
And those idiots that are hyping on it, like my uncle and his girlfriend, she's Mexican and he's Arab, and they came here. My grandpa came here through immigration. It's insane.
It's because they feel
their parents. Yeah, their parents gave them a life through that system, and now they want to scrap it. I mean, it's insane.
Well, they feel that they've attained a cultural whiteness. But go on, Troy.
Thank you.
Yes, by all means.
I live in the cultural privilege, something that they're going to try and cash in, and they're going to fall for a great rude awakening soon.
Yes,
I'm telling you. It's going to be really tough. But I live in an area where there used to be orange groves, and you had the migrant workers there's still migrant camps that are around here. I mean, literal barracks. One room, one bedroom, one bathroom, one other room, barracks that these people live in, and they go out at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. They're back by 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They get their cervezas, they sit down, have a good time, and then they're back up again doing it again. They spend their money.
And they pick more. They actually pick more volume than anyone else. Like there was some dude went out to do a YouTube video, and he couldn't keep up. Some white kid. He did maybe and he was like a fitness guru or some kind of fit guy. He could only do like a dozen boxes. These people were pushing like 80, 90 boxes a day or something.
And the construction is going to slow down here. You
Yes.
know, with the infrastructure act that Biden passed, I'm telling you, there are all kind of bridges and roads being repaired and buildings going up, especially here in the area of Florida where I live in. There's a new housing development going up. Nobody can afford to live in the motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to mention that some kind of horrible weather phenomenon will tear it down in not too distant future, right?
You know what I'm saying? I mean, my God, you know, but the thing is, there's so much construction, so much going on. And I live in a neighborhood where it's now become largely Hispanic, of all kinds. My neighbor to the right of me is Dominican. The one across the street is Puerto Rican. Another one across the street is Mexican. And I'm telling you, they're all on edge. They don't come outside anymore. Like, I mean, usually during Christmas, you can hear the music on.
Mariachi music.
Y'all hear the mariachi, boom, 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 boom. I can hear that stuff all night. I didn't hear nothing this year.
Oh my God! Oh my fucking God! Oh,
People are hiding.
So sad. So sad. By the way, I'm curious. In Los Angeles, it's just, the racism of the Mexicanos was such that, at least among those that tended towards gang activity, they were very anti-black. And so there was a lot of Mexicano on black violence in Los Angeles for many years. There was I always felt that they were really just kind of attacking black civilians. It was the impression that I got. Do you get that feeling before what came down with the white racism, the white lash that led to these people kind of like staying in their homes and being afraid to even express themselves culturally? Was there any sense of tension with the Latin Americans, who seem to be much more international in Florida, what you're describing? But originally, of course, it was Cubano. It was all solid Cubano that was really dominating Miami, at least. And I'm certain it's still that way. But did you ever feel in danger from any of the Latin American people moving in?
No. The Latin, most of the Mexicans here are fully aware. Those are true Mexicans. They live in way down in central and southern Mexico, where there's a lot of blacks, a lot of mixed, darker skinned Mexicans.
Yes.
They fully embrace. They embrace American Black African culture and the culture in their own countries. The Morenos, I forget what they call it. They call them Morenos.
Mestizo, another one.
Yeah. So you don't really have that. You really don't have that as much. They do a lot of stuff together. Parties, kids are part of the quinceañeras, all that kind. These kids go to school together. So, and they're mixing and having babies and stuff. So it's not a lot of that down here. I think that's more because over in California, you had the separations through the gangs. Right. You don't have as much gang activity here in Florida. You might have a group of kids who come from Venezuela somewhere. They may be part of SIR 13, but the government down here, the police down here, they squash that really quick. And the older Hispanics are like, hey, you're going to make it bad for everybody, so don't come over here with that SIR 13. Robbing, stealing, selling drugs. We don't do that over here. And you really very rarely find that. Matter of fact, the first time I've heard of an incident recently, there was a couple of guys, and I'm surprised Trump hadn't harped all over this. There were a couple of guys that came from Venezuela. The guys came through the border and lived in Texas, then he moved somewhere else, and then he ended up somewhere over here in West Florida. And him and his buddy decided on Christmas they were going to try and break into this nice neighborhood and break into a house. And the owner shot the guy through the door, and the other one took off, killed him. And the sheriff down here was all over that. He's a buddy of mine too, and he doesn't have. He's not a racist at all. He's just seeing a lot of things in his years. Not only is he the sheriff, his father was the sheriff down here as well. So they've seen a lot of things, and they know there are good people who may get caught up in tough situations and things like that. So, but you know, that is very rare. You don't see that very often anymore down here.
Okay, that's good.
And these kids, these Hispanic kids are getting really smart. They're like, man, I could start a construction company. I could do flooring. I could do roofing. I could do landscaping. I'm gonna always have a job. I could drive trucks. They do all that kind of stuff, and they don't really mess with the law.
Yes.
So you very rarely see that anymore.
Okay, thank you for that. That's good. That's good to know. It's impressive, and so and what about your own sense of physical safety at school? Any concerns about mass shootings? Are you guys running drills?
We do. We run drills. We take classes. We do all that stuff at least 2 times a quarter.
Okay.
Drills, fire drills, active shooter, lockdowns, things like that. So I'm not necessarily concerned about that. Also, on campus, on every school in Florida now, you have at least one school resource officer, or what they call now a guardian, who might be, you might have a guardian or 2. You may have a guy who's retired military, or maybe he's a part of the police department. They walk around campus with a weapon, and they can, you know, stop fights. They can check kids for having drugs or things like that. You know, vaping is the big thing now down here in Florida with these kids.
Didn't they get rid of all the bubblegum flavors? Or what's the fun in vaping without all the cherry fucking flavors and shit that they... Ice cream flavors.
They still get them and try to bring them to school and everything. So, you know, it's just one of those things. Just one of those social phenomena.
Yes. Oh my God. Well, how does that impact the kids psychologically, training for potential mass shootings? How does that psychologically affect them?
It really doesn't affect them. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of these kids have seen way worse in neighborhoods already.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, active shooter drill. All you do is they hit the alarm, and the system comes on and says, this is an active shooter drill. And you go to an area in the room that's marked off with like yellow tape, and everybody has to, like, it's in like the corner of the room. So active shooter, all the doors are locked. So you have to if you're an active shooter, you got to kind of bust into the room to see if somebody's over, but everybody's in the corner. So if it's real quiet and real dark, 9 times out of 10, you're just not going to just kick in the door and go in that room.
Yeah, interesting.
So I mean, you know, it's a whole drill. It's a whole production. You know, it's like
yes,
you know?
Yeah, wow. And so all such being said, the by the way, how's your own health? Because obviously, as a teacher, do you have time to take care of yourself very much? I mean, aside from what you said with the vacations, getting some time to relax and all that, I'm just curious because of everything I was dealing with lately with Medicare and Medi-Cal. Have you have time to follow up on yourself, make certain you're okay?
Yeah, no doubt. My wife's a medical professional, and to be honest with you, I had gotten lazy.
You would join the club, stand in line for that.
But I used to be an athlete. I was a college basketball player.
Oh, wow.
I was an athlete, and man, I looked up last year, maybe about 2 years ago this time, I was 415 pounds. Wow. And I wasn't sleeping well. I was, you know, in good health, but you know, pre-diabetic, a whole 9 yards. And I just started.
Well, I was right there with you. You heard my story about becoming pre-diabetic, did you not?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh my God! Oh,
work for you being that you consume rich iron. I'll say it like that.
Yes. It's one of these days I'll have to explain that to the listeners. Yes, my son's husband does have to be careful not to overdo it with the blood transfusions, because a person can get iron poisoning from an over overdoing blood transfusions. But when it comes to myself, it's not so much that.
Yeah, no such thing as an anemic vampire.
Yeah. But there's a reason. Let's just put it this way. When it comes to these lads, there's a reason their blood tastes sweet. Okay, so I've got to bear that in mind. Jesus fucking Christ. It's beyond simply their orientation. Let's put it's like, fuck, Halloween just took me over the edge. Yeah, what was that, Brent? Oh, shit.
Yeah, but I'm doing good, man. I dropped weight. I get to exercise on all the time. I walk, getting all my steps at school, chasing the kids down. So I'm good.
Okay, good. But by the way, did you have any? Did you ever become symptomatic? I mean, when I just bordered on the when my blood was at the point where I showed it to Brendan and he said, "Fuck, you're diabetic. Stop drinking Coke," and I stopped drinking Coca-Cola immediately. And you know, I'm never looking back. But but it's been difficult. Of course, it's always difficult to give up something that you've become essentially addicted to. But such having been said, I've managed to keep it at bay thus far. But before I did that, I became, at least in part, symptomatic. And of course, there was that poisoning, the toxin that I was exposed to the night of Halloween. But honest to God, I'm certain that the pre-diabetic element was there, adding to the symptoms I was feeling. But they were just horrible. So were you symptomatic? Were you feeling anything just awful like I was? You know, just feeling like shit?
What I was doing, I felt great. The crazy part about it was,
holy shit!
But I couldn't. I knew I couldn't do the things that I used to do, and then this is where you have to get knowledge, because ignorance is real bliss. Yes. But so I would go to the store and I'd pick up these juices. Oh, okay, this fruit juice has got to be healthy. You know?
Oh, that's right. Oh my God.
I didn't know how to read the labels, but I'm knocking back these fruit juices and cranberries
sugar.
and
it's all up your sugar. Oh fuck. God.
So one night, I mean, I'm pissing every 3 minutes. I'm like, holy shit, I just went to the bathroom. I gotta pee again. I mean, I'm going so my wife was like, if you go to the bathroom one more time, I'm gonna take you to the hospital. This
Good
is what
for her.
started my...
You are so lucky. You are so... This is why it's so important to be married. Go on.
So I kept going. She's like, get up. We're going. So I get to the hospital. Well, actually, I had a meter. at the house. So I take the meter and do my finger prick, and the machine goes beep and gives me an error message. So we look at the manual. The manual says even the certain number that the message was means that your blood sugar was over 600.
Yeah. Oh fuck.
And so I was like,
holy crap.
Oh, that can't be right. So
how did you survive that?
I don't know. Listen, I'm telling you, it was real close. So my wife was like, if in an hour, if your sugar hasn't come down, I'm going to take you to the hospital. I'm like, come on.
I'm surprised she was that conservative. I'm surprised she just didn't call an ambulance.
I'm trying to figure out, because like I said, I was at a point, I wasn't a diabetic, but I was pre-diabetic, but I was drinking and doing all the wrong stuff, thinking I was doing the right stuff. And so I took the thing again. It gave me a different error message.
You're a strong dude, because usually people go into coma,
diabetic
coma, before they get to 60.
That's the athlete in you. That's the athlete in you, Troy.
Right.
Come on. Yeah.
As soon as I walked in the door and they took my blood at the hospital, they were like, "Oh, Mr. Bellamy, we're checking you in right now." And they pumped me I stayed in there about 3 or 4 days. They pumped me full of insulin every day. And I got it under control. And then, now I just take pills to keep it under control. But I learned how to read the labels, what I can have, and my biggest bugaboo was orange juice and cranberry juice. I love that stuff. I grew up eating oranges. I had, 4 orange trees in my yard that yielded every year. Wow. So, I mean, I grew up, and I just had to cut back. I had to. And I stopped drinking sodas like you did, Doug. Yeah. That has many other health benefits besides the sodium, besides the sugar, all the other stuff that eats away at your
Oh, it's awful.
body. So yeah, so I stopped doing that, and I feel much better,
Thank
sleep
God.
better.
Oh, well, yeah.
I lost 120 pounds.
Oh, congratulations. Oh my fucking God, you must feel so much lighter. It's like, tell us what it was like before when you were, it must have been like walking on a treadmill all your life, the way it was before, despite the fact that you said you felt great.
I've never been that big before, and I just was eating good. You know, you get married, your wife cooks every night, you're sitting home, and you're eating good. The next thing you know, you're 400 freaking pounds.
Oh my fucking God.
You know?
Oh my God. Well, as a vampire, I wouldn't know about that, but...
You know, being a basketball player, I probably played at like 190. I think,
I was about to say, that's more like a football player is what you became.
You
switched.
article I sent about the vampire bats?
Oh God, what did it say? I didn't get a chance to look at it yet. What did it say? What is this?
That it's almost impossible for them to store fat, so they burn. Somehow they burn the protein directly from the blood that's stored.
Yes.
So we can go over that later.
Interesting.
Bad, like 14 days or something like that.
I'm sorry. Say that again, Troy.
I said, what is the life cycle of a bat? Like 14 days? You know, 7 days or something?
No, it's longer.
No,
than that.
they can live years.
Yeah, they live.
Oh,
years.
really?
Yeah.
I thought maybe it had a short life cycle.
Oh no! You're thinking like flies or insects. Oh God, no, they're mammals. Yeah, yeah. So mammals generally have longer lifespans. It depends, of course. There would be, maybe you're thinking of rodents like shrews or various other kinds of, but that you're talking about certain mammals have very high metabolisms. A vampire bat's metabolism is not that high. In fact, it can't be. It can't be because blood's not always available. So a vampire bat has to be able to kind of go into a hibernation almost, because the blood's not always going to be there. There's not always going to be some, big fat ass piece of cattle shoving its ass in your face that you can just suck on. All that being said, you converted from a basketball player there for a while to a football player. That's fucking incredible, and I'm so glad that you survived. But congratulate your wife for me. I mean, obviously, if it weren't for your wife, you would not be here. You would be.
Obviously not. She definitely saved my life many times over, and but it was just a mind change.
Yes.
I just had to change my mind. I'm gonna tell you what else precipitated. This might sound gross, but that was right around the time I turned 50 or so. 50. So I had to get a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
So,
you remember what happened to me with mine, right?
Yeah. I heard the story before.
Yes, but go on. Yes, go on.
So when I got ready to prep for the colonoscopy, you take that Miralax and stuff. Man, I must have lost 40 pounds doing that.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
And then I realized that all my gut health and all that stuff was just sitting in my gut.
Oh,
so I just started trying to keep myself clean and eat better, eat more fiber.
Yes.
And avoid as much as I could.
Yes. No, congratulations and well done. Well done. I mean, it's but that's that's frightening. That is actually frightening when something like that happens. And but by the way, I take it your colonoscopy came out clear. You have no polyps.
No problem. I had one that they burned it off. It was like benign. They were like, nah, it ain't no big deal. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to make sure I got the story while Brooke's not on. If she, comes back.
Well, actually, to tell you the truth, she may express disgust, but the truth is she grooves off that shit because it gives her something to bitch about. You know that. She loves to be able to bitch. That's like one of the highlights of her life. But when it comes to what you mentioned about that, when I remember I was talking to my psychologist about the colonoscopy, and that's when she told me casually that 95% of the time the colonoscopies reveal nothing. And that's when, you might remember if you heard the story before, how shocked I was. I was like, 95%? I would play Russian roulette at those odds. I don't even know why people bother to take them. However, I do just say to our listeners, of course, understand, even though it's an insurance scam, even though all the doctors tell you got to take a colonoscopy once you reach a certain age, and it's all a fucking insurance scam, and they're juicing the insurance for doing this to you. Obviously, of course, you have to judge by your own discretion whether or not you're going to do it. So, but for God's sakes, consult with your doctor and take their word over mine. Okay, just I have to say that just as a legal, just a legal issue. But don't say Doug said I didn't need to take one because it's 95%. Because God knows somewhere out there is that 5%er who's going to have polyps up the ass and shit. Like I told my gang brother, I asked my Tong brother Beaver, I said, you last time I checked with him, he didn't have a colonoscopy. And I'm like saying, damn, by the time, they get it up your ass, your polyps will be big enough where you'll have to send them to college. And, probably doesn't have them though, like for all the obvious reasons we've just articulated. But all such being said, the greatest horror is that we're dealing with a president who has already vocalized attacking the 14th Amendment, which means that at that point he's going to revoke the citizenship, theoretically, of everyone who's a black African American, not to mention any naturalized U.S. citizen like myself. Because that's and then they can just say, see, only we whites are real Americans, and whoever we decide is a real American. We're in potentially for a dystopia when our man Aristides expressed his skepticism that Trump could do this. Well, he can't do it by an executive order alone, but he's packed the Supreme Courts. And yes, theoretically, the Supreme Court can overrule or change our Constitution. They did so with Roe v. Wade. And so when since we've got that precedent where they've already changed the inalienable right of a woman to control her own body with Roe v. Wade by quote unquote throwing it back to the states, and the horrible irony here is this is what the Civil War was fought over: states' rights. And states' rights were simply the right to enslave other human beings. That's what states' rights were. That's what the Civil War was fought about. So when they are turning it back to the states, it's basically revoking the Union victory of the Civil War. By reasserting states' rights, you're technically saying the South won the Civil War. We're throwing it back to states' rights. We're going backwards. We're going backwards.
And it's ironic too that Trump has this tie to the Civil War society. He's railing, and again, it's all based on white privilege and the rights and the feelings of certain white people, groups of white people. Because even the wokeism that he can't explain, but he's fighting against, most of it is about the Civil War monuments that were erected not during Civil War time, but during the Civil Rights time. They were symbols to let everybody know that, man, we might have lost the war, but don't forget, we'll rise up and we'll do something to you if we don't like what's going on. And that's what January 6th was all about. Yeah. You understand?
Absolutely.
So now Trump is talking about renaming. There have been some federal buildings. There have been some warships that have been taken out of the name of Confederate generals, and maybe placed in the name of someone who was very large during the Civil Rights era, like Rosa Parks or something like that, or something and now he's talking about changing them back.
That's right.
This is his agenda. His agenda is to come in and relitigate the Civil War, which again is mostly about grievances that, these folks feel like things have been taken away from them.
Yes.
Their heritage or their ability to, have stuff that nobody else should have. All these kinds of things are supposed to be being litigated. And like you said, the 14th Amendment is the next salvo. Roe versus Wade was low-hanging fruit. They just wanted to see if they could do it.
Yes.
If they could, if the court, I mean, in the temerity of the judges, besides being corrupt, but they all got on television. Oh, Roe versus Wade is settled law. Oh, Plessy versus Ferguson is all. That's all. That was adjudicated correctly. Blah, blah, blah,
Oh
blah,
my
blah.
God.
And the first time they have a chance to go back and issue an adverse opinion and send it back to the states, because they can't overturn it. They can't create a new law or say, well, just erase that one off the books. All they're going to do is try and make the states have more power.
Yes.
And have to force the federal government to take that power back away from them.
Yes.
Which God knows it could precipitate
Second Civil War.
It could precipitate a lot of stuff. You got a goofy governor like Florida and Texas. They may just stand up and say, we secede from the United States.
Yes.
You know, Texas ain't not above doing something stupid like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know?
It's and this would be the opportune time to do it, and they would be supported, of course, by the Russians. Obviously, who would probably go so far as to provide them military assistance. This is the kind of madness that we've descended into. This is going to be a monumental 2 years. It's going to come to a head in 2 years. Forget 4. It's going to take just 2 years for us to really see how dangerous the situation is. I really want to thank you for bringing up Abraham Lincoln, because I do want people to know that Donald John Trump is fixated on Abraham Lincoln. I'll go into the details of that as best as I can do it justice in monologue, but
Okay.
yeah, it's and it's for all the wrong reasons, as you can imagine. But when it comes to that subject, Troy Bellamy has forced me to expound upon subjects before, such as the 14th Amendment, in the past by asking questions. So when it comes to, again, I don't know if you heard the episode I was talking about Martin Luther King Jr. and how at his after his death, at the church at which he had spoken, the last speech he had delivered before he was assassinated, how they had all these white children singing "We Shall Overcome." It was almost a taunt. I don't know if you heard me describe that, just how it was like, they got all these white kids to sing outside of the church in which he had delivered his final speech before he was assassinated. And they're singing that song was almost an insult because they were all white. And it was like the whites had already appropriated his legacy. They had already appropriated it. And it's, as you said, it's been half 100 years, but it's been all too short a time. And when it comes to the Civil War and the statues that we're speaking about, when we're talking to, did you hear the time that I was speaking of the Jewish leader who was part of the Confederacy, who was the individual who, the Jewish politician and slave owner, Judah Benjamin? He's the only individual who he was basically a key member of the Confederate President Jefferson Davis's government. And for those of you who don't know, more than 2,000 Jews are known. That's what we know of that fought in the Civil War on the Confederate side. Yeah. And this was because they were thank you. Yes. But Judah Benjamin statues are the only Confederate statues that have never been toppled, have never been graffitied, no one's ever complained about Judah Benjamin statues. He's considered the good Confed, the good rebel, the good Confed. And what it comes down to is when we speak of this white minority. By the way, Clarice Claudette, hey honey, love you dearly. She says, ain't Hunter on crack was pardoned. Kamala likes word salads. We love you, Clarice. Shout out there. She's a Southern lady. But I'll talk about Kamala.
Like that.
What's that? Yeah, you can tell by what she's saying.
Hunter's laptop. They killed me with the Hunter's laptop. What about Donald Trump's porno wife? I've seen her more than I've seen any other woman's cooch before. It was be a lady of class. Right.
Oh my God! Well, she is the archetypal trophy wife, and it's poor dear. She doesn't. She's always looks like she's unhappy. That's for sure. She doesn't look like she's having a good time. And so God knows what keeps her in the company of that son of a bitch. But it's probably some blackmail over there exposing something far darker than what we are.
You're talking about Hunter's laptop. What about the PP tape that Putin had?
Yeah.
you know, Putin got the PP tape with him, Epstein, Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. Well, it's like Lena Shea said. One of the things Lena Shea said that was very astute was that a videotape of a Russian prostitute or even a gang of them urinating on Trump in a golden shower from several sources is just, that's not going to cut it. They literally, Putin has simply, as Lena Shea said, informed him that they'll take him out. They'll fucking kill him if he doesn't do what they do. And I'm sure he believes they will. And will act on that. And so Clarice Claudette says, I don't know, what about all of the women killed in the Inquisition? No monument about that. And of course I'll respond, there should be one. Of course, there should be one, obviously. Aside from that being said, as I've mentioned before, the Inquisition was not all that irrational. But we can go into that another time. I've gone into that a little bit in the past. But in terms of, yes, there's other elements that we've brought up in the past that are significant. What is going on in terms of current events internationally that you feel that we should be paying attention to, Troy? I mean, not just necessarily to speak of, but what strikes you as, important out there?
I think there's going to be some disconnect here as Biden winds down his days in the White House in terms of his policy. I mean, he's done a great job over the 4 years, just kind of keeping the peace and trying not to provoke anybody and being put in a tough situation by the things that Trump did before with Putin, and then having to support Ukraine.
Keeping the peace.
And then they bring over Netanyahu to undermine.
He started 2 wars, or at least didn't help.
Oh, you're talking about.
But I get what you're saying, Troy. I'm just.
Yeah. You're talking about his support of the Israelis in their genocide in the Gaza, and what else was there? Yeah.
But tell you what.
Ukraine,
yeah.
This is my thought.
Yes.
I think if you notice, and I said this before when I was on here, right before the election, the reason why Biden still would have head-to-head, they debated again, he would have beat Trump again. He beat him the first time. He just looked a little off. But the whole point was the reason why he was forced out is because he did not unilaterally support Israel's getting extra weapons and extra money to prosecute that war against people who are standing out there with slingshots and flip-flops.
Yes.
And the Israel lobby came up against him and said, get him out. And that includes Nancy Pelosi. If you notice, all of the Israel lobby, the AIPAC people, were the ones who were the first ones to call for him to get out of the race. What's his name? The senator, the one that's the majority leader.
Oh God, I'm forgetting. Yeah,
I can't think of his name now. His cousin is the Amy Schumer.
J-Man.
Yeah, Schumer. Jesus, and I forgot he's connected with San Francisco and California. He's representing California too. Yes, go on.
Schumer, Moskowitz, all of them were the first ones to come out publicly and say Biden should step aside.
Yeah.
had they just kept the ranks and said, listen, he had a tough night, but he's still better than Trump as the alternative, he could have still been, he could have won. I would rather have a senile Joe Biden than a Trump any day.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, I certainly agree with that. But continue before I, give my own opinion on what I feel should have been done. But go on.
But I think because he did not unilaterally support giving them those 200-pound bombs, and he went against them, the Israel lobby rose up and got him out of there. And they'd rather have that and have Netanyahu in their pocket, another war criminal. I think also too economically, when you look at what just happened with the Nippon Steel trying to get the deal for the U.S. Steel, could have, there's a difference of opinion even in the Democratic ranks. There are some people who praise Biden for saying, okay, well, I'm glad you did that, even though it might cost us some jobs. But the dignity on the world stage that America can still manufacture things has to be preserved. I don't think
the Japanese have rebutted that.
Well, I know that, and they're going to, and as well they should. I think they as well they should, because he had to couch his excuse in he had to couch it in the excuse that it's a national security issue. Japan is not a national security threat.
Thank you. Yes,
exactly. And the Japanese had said.
But imagine a Japanese company coming in and buying one of the oldest companies in America, and now all of a sudden, instead of Joe Clark, the guy from Ypsilanti, Michigan, being the manager, he's got Yoshito Takamoto as his manager, and they're telling him and standing up.
Troy.
Now,
that's cute. That's cute. No, I like it. Go on.
You understand what I'm saying? So you got a whole image problem.
I'm just joking.
This is bigger than business in this regard, because you got a Japanese company coming and saying, we're going to save this American company. We're going to improve your technological situation. We're going to give you more workers. We're going to create more efficiency and all that stuff. And you know what? That works in Asian culture. The world-class manufacturing, the constant improvements, the efficiency model, like that. That don't work in Detroit, Michigan, or Western Pennsylvania.
That's for fucking sure. Yeah.
But show up on time, clock in, do their 25 years, and then you give me a check, and leave me the fuck alone.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Don't tell me that I should have used a 3/8 inch screw when I'm using a 1/2 inch screw, and that would make us more efficient, and we'd save 50 cents per screw. They don't want to hear that. You understand what I'm saying? And like I said, besides the fact that it's just an American thing, we got to show that we can still manufacture. We got to show that we can still run a business and things like that. But again, this is where if Donald Trump is supposed to be the business president, he should be able to
what a joke. We're going.
You know what, Trump? If this is why Biden had to do this, because you know what Trump would have done if he had the opportunity. He would have sold it off for pennies on the dollar.
Yes.
He let them go bankrupt.
That's true. That is true. That is true.
Inspired everybody that didn't want to take their pay cut. I'm telling you, I know. He's already said he'd do it. So, it's just a matter of American ingenuity trying to rear his head again. But I don't know how well it's going to work. I mean, there have been other great American companies. My wife works for a company that was taken over my wife's a pharmacist. She works for Walgreens. It was taken over by a foreign company. Now it's Walgreens Boots Alliance. And they haven't had a pay raise.
Which country are they? Which country are they?
The Brits.
The Brits. Okay,
yeah.
Incredible. Go on.
Boots is a British pharmacy. Yeah.
That's incredible.
They start.
Yeah.
The plans were in place. In every Walgreens pharmacy, they were supposed to have like a little mini clinic where a person can go in, get seen. If you got a cold, they could write you a script right there.
Wow.
You walk up, get the pharmacy, and that kind of kept all the healthcare decisions within the proximity of each other. You could talk to the doctor or the nurse practitioner in the one side. You write your script, you go over, get it done, boom, you're in and out, everything's done.
Yeah. Wow.
They shut that down. The new company came in, took over. They had built out all these clinics in there, and they walked in Boots Alliance. The new company shut it down.
Oh my God.
And now they're talking about closing like 400 stores.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
They have.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Incredible. Incredible. And your knowledge of this needs to be shared. I'm glad that you're on with us to share this. It's an education in and of itself.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. Clarice Claudette says, Biden did a great job sending billions to Ukraine. You would agree with that, Brendan, I'm sure. That's, yes.
Just because I need him in my pocket, forget about them. Right? No offense. Like, nothing against them. But it's just, we got our own problems over here.
Well, obviously...
I think like a majority of people, when they say stuff like that, that's what they mean. They just don't know how to rationalize or contextualize it.
Okay.
They fall in line with like we shouldn't support them, but they don't understand the nuances of geopolitics. But I just want the money, you know.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but I would far rather we deny it to Israel than Ukraine.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
But
that goes without saying, but it's like you bring that up and people start crying, and like when I tell people don't go to Starbucks because they send billions to Israel.
What's that, Troy? Say that again.
Well, Israel need the money.
Yeah, well, they need the money so they can commit genocide and expand to become an empire that dominates the Middle East. That's why they need the money, Troy. You know that. Why? That's a rhetorical question, right? Why are you even asking?
We needed a geopolitical analyst for that one.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Well, like my gang brother Beaver, when my Tong brother Beaver says, I was telling him about South Korea seriously considering sending weapons to Ukraine, and he was like, why do they fucking care? Why would they fucking care? And I reminded him, you do understand, of course, and I know you know this, that South Korea is one of the few nations in the world outside of Taiwan to produce microchips. And he says, yeah. And I said, so you do know that in order to engrave those microchips, they use lasers that require the medium of neon gas as the buffer and the medium in which the microchips are engraved. And therefore, because the majority of the neon gas sources from Ukraine, with North Korean troops helping the Russians conquer Ukraine, that would crash the South Korean economy. So yes, they are... They have a vested interest.
Well, they have their own issues. They're about to go civil war mode.
Yes, tell us about that before we turn back to Troy, because I do want to juice Troy for other things as well. But yes, do tell us a bit about what you understand about that situation.
The president is denying any of the court summons or anything to basically answer for what he did with the martial law declaration. And then the police went to his house, and then the presidential police force actually repelled the Korean National Police.
His Secret Service. His Secret Service repelled the Korean National Police. Continue. Yes. Exactly.
So, basically, and then there's a faction of the population that supports him, and a faction that wants the actual legislature, the government, to get rid of him. So there's going to be a lot of issues, and I bet every night Kim Jong-un is crying in his bed saying, I shouldn't have sent those troops. I shouldn't have sent those troops to Russia. I could have a real Korea,
Yes, a united Korea.
If I just didn't do that stupid, if I just didn't listen to that stupid bald guy, Like he's regretting that now.
Oh, the world is so ironic.
And they pull, and they're like pulling these, I don't know what to call it. These like comical kind of 1950s things where they're like, instead of dressing as North Korean soldiers, they're putting on Russian uniforms, as if anyone would not realize like a 5'4" Russian
actually
was
the
not
Russians,
the same.
So many of the Russians at this point are so emaciated, it may actually, but I don't understand.
Yeah, it might have
worked. But I don't understand why do they need to not be disambiguated from Russians, because they feel that they're they're targeted more easily as North Koreans when they're perceived as such? What the fuck?
It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, exactly. What is the point of that?
Yeah, thank you. It doesn't make sense except to prevent the Russians from shooting them. That's to prevent the Russians.
Oh, that must be it. That must be
yes, it has to be.
Because they're all from like the the outer lands.
Yeah,
and they barely speak Russian, and they're like, who are these?
Yeah. Who are these fuckers? Yeah.
Insert racial slur.
Yeah.
Who are these guys?
Gooks. They'll say gooks. They are the Russian equivalent thereof. Yes.
And then by the time they call what's it? Like the platoon commander calls them, they're like, "Why did you shoot them?" Like, and then that was their solution: just put them in Russian uniforms.
Yes. Thank you. There we are. That's so we've just figured
like
something
it's like
out.
Metal Gear Solid, like
I
you're
always
wearing red. Red is good. Blue is bad. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my god, I always hated that game. And to think that the Japanese produced that just to fucking stroke the Americans or stroke the West, but it was so pro-Russian. It was bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre. But back to
there's lower reasons for it.
That understood.
Like there's an explanation, but it's cheesy.
Thank you. It is. And so Troy, what I think our man Biden should have done is this is what I think. I think he should have ceded the presidency to Kamala Harris, and then she could have run as the incumbent. And if she were empowered as the presidentress, the America's first female presidentress, and a colored female at that, I think she would have won hands down. She would have at least gotten enough of those votes to beat Trump's few thousand that he won by. That's what I feel. What is your opinion on that? How do you feel about that idea?
Well, it's the same thing I said before. I think that it wouldn't have worked only because America did, and this is why they actually went against her in the first place. They felt like she was being forced on them. They felt like she was there where they would call her a DEI hire. You have people in the political sphere who are calling her a DEI hire and all this other stuff. This is a woman who's been a senator, a state attorney general, vice president. Why would you think that she's a DEI hire? Well, because first of all, they think that her vice presidency was brokered by the congressman from South Carolina. God, I can't think of his name now. You know who I'm talking about? The older black guy.
I actually forgot that.
They were saying, they were just saying stuff like, "Oh, she, sucked her way to the top."
That was, dude. Peter Moon said that. Moon said that. And
people don't understand how racism works. That's the ultimate of racism. To say a highly educated black woman and over-sexualize her accomplishments by saying she sucked her way to the top.
Disgusting.
So, and the irony is that's what he did to what's his name, the guy on the boat. So it's just ironic.
Yeah, the guy on the boat. Who relate that?
Hubbard.
Hubbard. Yeah, that's what Pete was doing. Yeah,
to basically get diplomatic immunity on the boat.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
The Sea Org. Sorry.
Sea Org. The Sea Org. That's absolutely correct.
So that's why he was jealous. He was like, "Why couldn't I get as high as she did?"
Yeah. That dumb motherfucker. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons I'll be addressing Kamala Harris tonight is because of Peter Moon's specific pervert peeve, where he was always triggered by her laugh. He hated her laugh, and
But he loved Brandon Young's.
Yeah, but he loved Brandon Young's, which was the Squidward laugh. Like, thank you.
That thing.
And oh my God! So I can't.
Every time someone's suffering, he'd be like,
Oh my God.
That was Brandon Young.
Yes. So I can't resist this, Troy. Just have to. You can bow out of this subject, but I can't resist asking you, how do you feel now that Pete's gone? And before you even respond, I have to qualify. I have not gotten a single fucking complaint about Pete missing, and all I've gotten is, the only complaints I've gotten is people complaining about, why didn't you get rid of the son of the bitch years ago? Even though they all knew I was hoping he would write the book. He was, you know, and you must know the story by now. He was going to publish it, and then on the very day he was going to publish it, he turned around and said, "No, I'm not going to publish it." And and you know what happened with all that in general, I presume. But what was the other thing that I got about Pete? I'll remember later. It's very humorous, just dark humor stuff. But yes, Troy, what was your impression of all that drama? Please.
But listen. I'm not acutely aware of all the elements of it. I know that as a loyal follower of yours, be honest with you, I will wait until Peter signed off and then I'd listen.
Thank you.
Same.
Yes.
Not
Same
saying
here.
that about Peter. It was sometimes I listen to Peter, but his monotone nature, and he was always seem like he was trying to outdo you with this whole thing. And I was like, you know what? I'll just wait until he signs off.
Thank you.
And when he signed off, then I listened, and that's why I never came on when he was on. I never signed in when he was on. But what also I've learned over the years that I've been listening to you, and this is what I really enjoy about you, Douglas. Not only from the standpoint that I learned something, I've gotten to make good friends like Aristides and Brandon. I get to listen to you guys talk intelligently and get a different point of view, but also I learned different things, and it has shown me that there are people in the world who will try to work against you even when you give them an opportunity. I mean, I just learned not to question. If Doug dumps them, then I say, well, it started with what's the one brother that was it Reese
Jameson Reese?
Yeah.
Jameson Reese, and then there was another guy who used to come on, and
Daniel Arola, Brandon Young. Yes, all these.
Douglas is the most tolerant person on earth.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, whoa, all right, if you can piss Doug off to the point where he's just not even mess with you no more, then okay. All right, then we shouldn't even be talking. So I just when I was a few months ago when you started talking about Peter, I was like, wait a minute, when did he fall out with Peter? I was like, okay, well, I guess Peter's gone.
Thank you.
So I didn't even question.
That was the only complaints that I've received. The only complaints I've received are people complaining, hey, with Peter gone, I can't fall asleep anymore, because they said his voice is what they went to sleep with. They said, I was going to sleep with Peter Moon. That's how I got to sleep. And that's the only complaints I've received.
He was better than the freaking white noise.
Yeah, yes, he was white noise. He was white noise. So, now, Troy, were you aware that Peter Moon was convinced he was black? Did you ever hear us discuss this?
No, I had no idea that he said this.
Yeah, he was.
Well, he was convinced he was a Moor. He was a Moor.
Yes, and this is the
and gave himself the lineage of the Montauk Pharaohs, so it was even more offensive.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes, and the Montauk Pharaohs is like his own construct. It's like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, but this this whole trip about Peter Moon was that here's how offensive it was. That you might vaguely remember I was once dealing with a black African American who at the time I was dealing with him was originally a practicing Muslim, had been a practicing Muslim. I met this guy personally multiple times, and he had been a practicing Muslim for so long that he actually had an imprint on his forehead from banging his forehead against the floor effectively 3 times a day towards Mecca. So this was a guy who took his shit seriously.
5 times.
Yeah, five. Yeah, he was lazy. He was about 3. He was a fucking pothead.
Is that what you...
Yeah. And, if he had done 5 times, he would have been probably giving himself a brain concussion. Maybe that's eventually what happened. Maybe that's why he changed later on. But anyhow, Abdul Karim Haq then, unfortunately, ran across on the internet this sort of shit, this concept that his prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was, quote unquote, a pedophile because he took a young bride. And so he gave up his religion and then chose the name instead of Abdul, which means slave, but it's slave in a proud sense, as in a servant of Allah. Abdullah is is the full name, servant of the God. And he instead gave that up to change his name to Abu, which means daddy, essentially, or, father figure.
Abu,
yeah. So he's effectively, in his own mind, taking the place of God. But anyhow, before that insanity happened and we broke off in acrimony, because once he lost his faith, he began to behave. He had no boundaries. He had no moral boundaries. But when it came to Abdul Karim Haq, one time when he was on my show, he related how hard it was when he traveled to England. He says, "Oh my God, when I went to England, they wouldn't let me through the turnstile. They put me in a waiting room with all these other blacks and colored peoples, but predominantly blacks or people who were POCs, people of color." And I said, "Was there any white men in the room?" He said, "Oh yeah, one Australian guy." And I said, "Fuck, to the Brits, that's just a white nigger." Yeah, because those were all Irish, exiles.
And an Irish guy. I'm surprised he didn't say Irish guy.
Yeah. You're right. With Abdul, it's amazing that he had that nuance, right? But such being said, when I presented that story to Peter Moon to show you the depths of Peter Moon's insanity, Peter Moon says on air, on record, "When I went to England, I had no problem getting through at all. They let me right through."
Yeah, he was shocked. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And he
was
presented
shocked. He was
that.
like, "I had no issues."
Yeah. And he presented that seriously, in all seriousness. And
I was thinking to myself, yeah, neither did I, because they didn't look at my last name enough.
Yeah. It's like that. Well, even an Irish guy I knew named McGuire. I once had an economics teacher named Michael McGuire, one of my favorite teachers. And Michael McGuire said when he went to England, they were all pleasant with him and very accommodating until they saw his name, McGuire.
Yes, exactly.
And he said the moment they saw that, they brought this thick 500-page book, and shoved it in his face, almost to the point of breaking his nose, literally shoved it into his face. And he said, he almost said, but he didn't say it aloud, he almost said, "Oh, is that the Book of Kells?" Which is this, famous English cultural book. But, he said, "Excuse me, what is this?" And they said, "You'd better not cause any trouble, and we'd better not find your name in this book," which was apparently a list of IRA terrorists, which easily...
Yeah, it was the IRA book.
Yeah, which easily had half a thousand men named Michael McGuire. but anyhow, aside from those tribal differences, I mean, all whites are essentially warring tribes. They think of Africans as a bunch of warring tribes. Whites put them to shame. But anyhow, aside from that, Michael McGuire are an example like that. The fact that Peter Moon is fish belly white and is, and actually seriously says, "When I went to England, they didn't give me any problems." This is the level of indulgence. You see, a white man can fantasize that he's black. And in some cases, it actually is apropos. Say, for instance, in the case of William Jefferson Clinton, I don't know how many people know this, but William Jefferson Clinton actually claimed he was America's first African-American president. Now, we don't know who his father is. But so the truth is, he may well be America's first African-American president. And, but William Jefferson Clinton, I will tell you one thing, William Jefferson Clinton was culturally very black. He was culturally...
He played sax. He played sax and stuff.
And that's the thing. As a kid, growing up during that time, I was in college when he became president. And back then, you remember Arsenio Hall was the big show.
Yeah, that's right.
And
that's right. By the way, do you believe the rumor? The hot rumor was that Arsenio Hall was making fun of Wesley Snipes. When Wesley Snipes showed up on his show, he dissed him on his show or belittled him, somehow snubbed him. And then later on, Wesley Snipes ran him down in a car and ran him off the road, at which point when he got out of his car, Wesley Snipes approached him and literally put the fear of God into him. And did you ever hear of that incident?
I have not heard of that one.
Okay.
I have to look
I wouldn't mess with Wesley Snipes, just personally.
Yeah. But anyhow.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. But because Arsenio Hall was this, and it had something to do with Wesley Snipes said something along the lines of, once you guys get the sniffing a white woman's panties, you all change and you all become like a bunch of house niggers or something along those lines, coons or something along those lines. It was that was what I had heard, but again, it might be pure rumor. It was what I heard when I was working private security, because I heard after that somebody was hired as private security by Arsenio Hall, because after that he feared for his life. So it was, So, but that's just to share that. But that being said, before Troy continues with his experience with when he was in college, the thing about Bill Clinton is one thing, but with Peter Moon, unlike with Bill Clinton, Peter Moon cannot play sax, and Peter Moon is just indulging himself. And what
Can't
makes
play
it so
basketball or football either.
Yeah, thank you.
Like what he was claiming.
Thank you. But beyond that, the trip is that a white man can indulge himself in these fantasies and pretend he's part of a persecuted minority, but a black man cannot. A black man cannot say,
yes,
I'm really white, because he's not going to be, no one's going to give him that pass. But with Peter, he can maintain this. Yeah, I'm sorry, go on.
Nor should he ask for that or want that pass.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
But with Peter Moon, the horror of it was also he felt this somehow made him more virile. And Brendan can relate, or remembers at least, the story where there was this...
I can't relate.
Yeah, he can't relate. But he might remember the story where after his young wife left him...
relate in the sense of recount. Yeah,
yes,
got it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
That's what I meant. Yes. Yeah.
That's funny. Recount. That's actually funny.
Yeah, there was that... Remember, there was the Airbnb queen who had... Or some other chick who had a kid in Romania. She was Romanian, but she had...
Yes.
It was the Bulgarian... that was it, the Bulgarians. The Bulgarians who interviewed me... That one Bulgarian turned gay and was interviewing me with his gay lover because his girlfriend had run away with a black man, which for a Bulgarian was like, oh my God, the ultimate, like, oh my God, that just devastated him. That's why he went gay. It devastated him so much it went gay. But then Peter thought he had a chance with that guy's girlfriend. And I said, why do you think you have a chance with her? He never said it out loud, but I realized later, just like Brendan said, it's because he thinks he's black. It's because Peter thinks he's fucking black. And that's what made the racism of Peter's indulgence so ugly, is that Peter's racism is that if I think I'm black, I must be more virile. It's like he's indulging himself in being this virile black.
He thought he could pull a bunch of chicks like that or something.
Yeah.
That's why he would always say, I play football every day.
Yeah, that's
like it was got to the point where we were like, really, dude? We get it. Like,
yeah, thank you.
Like, that's fine,
Yeah, thank you. Oh my fucking God. And so back to Troy with that. So knowing this now, Troy, yes, by all means, talk about Clinton, Arsenio Hall, what you know about. So when you were in college and Clinton became. Yeah, tell us.
Arsenio Hall was a beacon of culture. And because Bill Clinton took advantage of that very smartly, from a political standpoint, to go on the show. I mean, it was the hottest show in late night. He was, anybody that went on Arsenio's show, you got an immediate bump up in your popularity. And he went on and played the sax, and I think he went on like twice. And he won the election. And for us as kids, in college, we're just in the 90s, we're just experiencing the fullness of possibility in America as black students. Everything was a possibility. We could do this, we could be CEOs, we could do, it was just a great time to be a college student, much less a black college student on a black college campus. And so Bill Clinton to us was, we would jokingly say he was the first black president. But also, he also, from what I heard, there's a rumor that he has a black child. And the video I've seen of this guy, this guy looks exactly like Bill Clinton.
Oh man, hey, can you send us a link later? It doesn't have to be now. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try and send it to you. But there was apparently Bill, was into ladies of the night when he was governor.
Yeah.
And this one chick that he used to frequent her, she ended up having a baby, supposedly had a baby from him. And he knew about it, but the kid was like, I was told never to say anything about it. And then he's supposedly taking a DNA test or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
fascinating. And do you know what I've said about George Bush Jr., right?
What's that?
It was basically what happened was, help me out here because it's been so long, was the black African American woman Condoleezza Rice worked with him.
Oh, yeah.
And Condoleezza Rice was one of the neocons, and she had tremendous influence during the George W. Bush administration. And all of this was simply a personal conclusion of mine, but I would bet the house, the crypt. I would bet the crypt it's all real. But it was based on just the behavior between the two of them. First off, for those of you who don't know in the listening audience, Condoleezza Rice.
Bush Jr. or Senior?
Bush Jr. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, they had some chemistry. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty clear.
Well,
like you're saying.
Condoleezza Rice. Well, for one thing, several times in public on record, she referred to.
He would be like, "Ha ha, Connie." He would like say stuff like that, like give her names.
That's right. And there were several times on record she said she referred to George W. Bush Jr. as my husband. She said that subconsciously, that Freudian slip, and it came through multiple times on record. She called him my husband.
It's almost like Pete style.
Yeah, but in this case, there was something to it. I think it came most evident to me was the time that he was being interviewed with her sitting next to him, and he was asked a question about Kim Jong-un, and he began to lean forward and say, when I met him personally, I hated him. He didn't say that, but he came out almost saying that, and he said my response, my chemical reaction, essentially, he just basically said I felt visceral. I remember that word he said distinctively. It was visceral. He said it twice. And but while he was leaning forward and potentially letting slip,
a lot of vocab for him.
Yeah, thank you. While he was potentially letting slip was something that would result in a diplomatic controversy, she was holding him back physically. She physically held his arm, and she was clenching her fingers around his arm tightly like a wife will do to a husband to shut him up. And so you could see that. That was on camera, and only somebody who is almost like a best friend in the world, for a female to do that, that's almost certainly a physical intimate. It's almost like you have to be physically intimate with a man to be doing that on a camera, to feel that comfortable with him and him that comfortable with you, where you could do that to the president of the fucking United States on a camera. So I believe they were sleeping together. I'm convinced they were sleeping together, and that she had a tremendous influence over him. But when it came to with what happened with how did you feel at the time? How old were you at the time that Obama became president? And were you teaching at that time? If you were, how did the students respond? Okay.
I was working in the financial services industry at that time. I was probably 40 when he became president.
Okay.
So probably somewhere. I was in my 40s at that time.
Okay.
But it was kind of funny because I think everybody kind of, being in Sarasota, which is where George W. Bush was when 9/11 happened. I actually saw the.
That was where the school was.
That
little school he was doing.
Okay. I actually was working.
Where he was holding the book upside down. Where he was holding the book upside down that he was reading, supposedly reading. Go on. Yeah, go on.
That morning, I was working in the financial services industry, right on the same route that he was coming off the beach from, to go to the school. And so that morning they were staging the streets, and I could see, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot George Bush is here. So I go out and I salute. I was like, I didn't vote for him, obviously, but he's president and he's here, and boom, right. Motorcade passed by. They're on two wheels. They're moving. Yeah. I'm like, oh, God, what's going on? And so by the time I got back in, the kind of rudimentary email system we had, I emailed one of my friends, and he was like, well, you better tell him, to get back to Washington, D.C. because the World Trade Center just got bombed. I was like, what? And so that day was very surreal. I mean, I literally saw the president 10 minutes after the World Trade Center got bombed. I literally saw him pass by in the motorcade. So when you think about incidents like that, I mean, it just shows you, how things are, in the world. But, I forgot what we were talking about.
Oh, we were talking about, originally we were talking about Peter Moon's indulgence that he was black and just how repulsive that is, that fantasy of his, that he can indulge in that and then pretend he's part of this persecuted minority. It was his reason, the rationale he gave me why he couldn't report my gang stalkers when they contacted him. I can't report your gang stalkers. I understand that I'm a black activist, and the FBI. What? That's what he said. I'm a black activist.
Holy shit.
Yes, that's how this. He, among other things that he said later on over the years, it became more and more obvious he was always on their side. But that became, I should have, of course, gone with my original instinct never to work with him. I held him at bay for 10 years before finally surrendering to working with him because I simply wanted to get the books out, and everybody was complaining they couldn't read my writing. But he dumped it down.
Well, now we can't read Pete's writing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, that's the other thing, Troy. He had a bunch of heart attacks and strokes. So he suffered this brain death. And
well, even before that, the so-called manuscript was like, it was like a fourth grader reading level. It was cheesy.
Thank you.
And he's like, I guess I have to talk about Doug's life because, Aquino scares me. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, thank you. It's just awful. It was, but there you go. You're kind of caught up on that.
It's like reading Goosebumps.
Yeah, that's right. And I hate that son of a bitch. R.L. Stine, I think the guy's name is. R.L. Stine?
Yeah.
Yes. He took the Swamp Thing and he wrote the comic for the Swamp Thing. They put him in charge of writing the Swamp Thing comic, and he was so disgusting with that. It's like there's no words. Yeah. And
there was another thing that I found out was a comic that I didn't know. I think it was Stanley Ipkiss, The Mask.
The Mask. Okay. Oh God, that figures. That was like when my father, my legal father, George Dietrich the sailor, the man who raised and guided me, when he and I were doing stupid things that were straight out of the 20th century that he used to do, like pay his bills at these stupid centers where you used to go to places in the Tenderloin to pay your bills in San Francisco,
Yeah. Like a Western Union, like a bill pay place.
Yeah.
Like a check cashing place. Yeah.
Where you would go when you purse snatched old ladies'
I literally
purses.
had to do that once, and the people dusted off the machine. I'm not joking. They're like, okay, let me see if I could find it, and it was hilarious.
Oh, it's awful. Thank you.
It was like a receipt. Those things that you do when you check into work, the receipt readers.
Yes.
It scans it onto the paper. It was hilarious.
Yes, no, it's awful, and but anyhow, we used to do this every month, perhaps more than once a month because of the different bills, and but this was before, of course, he got much older and shall we say incapacitated by different things when I became the care provider. Even then, he rebounded so miraculously. He was definitely not a normal human being. I don't know what the fuck he was, but he definitely wasn't a normal human being. But when it came to
those original hydrogen bombs were probably nice,
Yeah,
the
there you
were
go.
Different.
Yeah, it was like the Hulk or something. They gamma radiated him or something so that he was like Rubber Man. He became, just somewhat. He rebounded so well from the impossible. But the one time we were down there at this bill-paying place, which is no longer there, of course, on fucking Polk Street, way down towards the Tenderloin, and we after we paid the bill.
Is that place where when Selena Khan was trying to send you money that she almost got you killed?
Oh no, that was the Western Union joint that was even further down into the Tenderloin that I had never been to before in my life.
And they were like, dude, we don't have money. Like,
yeah, oh my fucking God. I could not cash her Western Union telegram check there because they literally could not keep money there because they would be, what do they call it when they knock over a gas station? Knocked over. They'd be like, robbed. And so I had to go all the way down through the hellish district. I went through the exact same tent city. I will bet the crypt. I went through the same tent city that our man Brendan Zogit went through when
is it right there on the edge of Chinatown?
No. So it's a different tent city then. I went through a different tent city.
There's so many there.
That's right. Yeah. But that's where, basically several black men, or at least one black man, approached Brendan Zogit trying to sell him Michael Jackson's Other Glove. Isn't that what happened, Brendan? Something like that.
Yeah, this dude, it was like a bunch of homeless black dudes with like dreads, like they were huge. And then one small like crackhead guy came out of the middle of them and said, "You want to buy this glove?" And we were like, "What?" And he like pulls out this old crusty glove, and it was just one. It wasn't like a set of gloves. And we were like, "No." And so, we had to like diplomatically get our way through that without, offending anyone. So we were like, "Oh no, thanks, man. Like, I'm just chilling," So it was a hairy situation, to say the least.
Did you... Now, forgive me. For some reason, I think of the twain of you having skateboards. Was that the case?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
They were trying to grab our boards. That's why they were trying to stop us. And we were just like... We had to, like, do some diplomatics to get out.
Oh, my God. That's so awful. No, it's so... the neighborhoods are truly frightening. It's... But at any rate, when it came down to this place, what happened was after my dad and I had done what we had done, paid the bill, and literally this is a place where after you swipe a purse from old ladies or swipe several of them, you go in and you cash their checks at places like this. But when it came into, they take a cut, of course, but when it came to my dad and I, we were waiting for the bus and we waited indoors facing the television of that hellhole, and the television was playing silently Mask, and I found the film so repulsive. Jim Carrey's acts so repulsive. The whole film was so repulsive. By the time
you should see the comic book.
Oh my God!
Comic book.
Well, by the time the bus arrived, I was psychologically scarred for life, having watched silently the film Mask. So that tells us about this guy.
It's almost worse if it's silent. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it was worse.
That because you have a certain feeling about Jim Carrey, or you just didn't like the movie?
What we're talking about was the writer R.L. Stine was responsible for that atrocity. Now it all clicks. It all clicks because wasn't Swamp Thing.
Wait, I thought the comic book was someone else.
Oh, I thought you said that he wrote the movie.
No, I just said there's a comic book.
Right.
That movie's based off of, which I didn't realize.
Okay.
And I don't remember. I can actually, let's find the.
Well, R.L.
I don't think it was him.
He writes horror stories. He writes horror stories for kids.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Swamp Thing. It was Man Thing. He took Marvel Comics Man Thing. They put him in charge of writing that for a while, and he absolutely obliterated it. Turned it into a piece of shit. Yeah. So I have no love for him. But all such being said, the reason I
Doug, it says created by Mike Richardson, developed by Doug Mockney and George Accruti, published by Dark Horse.
There we are. That was the original. Yeah. And was the comic like
Mask?
Yeah, I never read the comic. I knew it existed, but I never read it.
It's revolting.
I know it's supposed to be Loki's mask. The concept was it was Loki, the mask of Loki. It's supposed to be. Right. Yeah. So, but they fucked it up.
I just don't like the art style.
Thank you.
The movie was actually better in that sense.
Yeah, God, maybe not. And by the way, and now Jim Carrey, he produces. You can tell it's his voice. And he produces this fucking transphobic channel called Transpocalypse, where all he talks about is the evil of, the trans minority and how they're going to kill us all and shit like that. Stupid fuck.
Well, he's MK Ultra'd out the wazoo.
Yeah, thank you.
Unfortunately.
Thank you. You can tell. You can tell the guys. But then again, so is Peter Moon. Yes, yes. They're all products of some kind of programming. By the way, you are aware, of course, we completely ostracized Ian West. Troy Bellamy. I hope you're aware.
It's like you're collecting MK Ultra projects like they're Pokemon or
I know.
trading cards.
Thank you. I'm a
This
fly.
guy's from Octagon 6, and this guy's from
yes.
Purple Code 7. Like Pete.
Thank you. Yes.
Purple Egg 7.
Yeah, Purple Egg. Yeah, Pete always said surround yourself.
Collecting them and shit.
Yes. Peter always said surround yourself with the purple egg when he was trying to teach people how to ward off a cult assault. What an idiot. But at any rate, so I don't even know if you remember who Ian West was, Troy. Do you? Or yes.
I remember.
Well, he's gone now. Oh my God. He's like that. Oh, it's just endless. I'm a flypaper, as Brendan says, for these MK Ultra project people. These mind control product, anyhow. But such having been said, when it comes to the white minority trying to reclaim, bear in mind what I said about Judah Benjamin. Judah Benjamin being the largest Jewish slave owner in the South, that key member of Confederate President Jefferson Davis's government. That's the true minority that is trying to reestablish itself in total command, where they are reversing history and reinstating a Confederate States of America over all 50 states in Union. It's definitely something that needs. Well, we can never forget it. And for those of you who don't know Judah Benjamin, his full name, I remember his middle initial was P. Judah P. Benjamin. He was this prominent attorney and this senator and slave owner in America. And he basically, how do I say it? I guess I could go on and on about him, but I don't know if I want to give him airtime right now. But all such being said, he wasn't acting alone. As I said, when you had a bunch of Jewish people who were fighting on the Confederate side as soldiers, you can imagine how many of them were accountants and slave traders and involved in the higher wheels of machinery of the slavery machine of the South. And it's something that never gets told in history. We're never educated about this. And it goes to show us how history is completely revised to skew the Jews as victims rather than as what they truly are. As a people, they have caused incredible havoc and are still causing incredible havoc. And they're not the friends of persecuted minorities. They are not the friends of other persecuted minorities. But such being...
Excuse me, let me jump in real quick. The thing that I've learned over the years, that there's several different factions of these Ashkenazi Jews, these people who faction themselves to be of that religion and culture. And so you have some, the civil rights movement, legally, financially, and morally would not have been able to take off the way it did without the help of the Jewish community. There's no question about that. The one lady who got killed riding with the Freedom Riders, I believe she was a Jewish lady.
Okay.
And Goodman and Schwerner were two young Jewish fellas who got killed with the black guy Cheney.
That's right.
Really kicked off. And so they were very active in that. There's another fact.
By the way, that's portrayed as the opening scene in the film Mississippi Burning, isn't it?
Yeah, great movie. Mm-hmm. But that was, they're, like I said, they were very instrumental in the construction of the legal framework by which they were able to use their legal expertise as lawyers, as barristers and attorneys, to kind of bring these things to the fore, bring legislation that was undeniably passable and needed to be done from a political standpoint as a country. So you got another faction of people who are more Zionists. They're very, very
excellent point.
very, very,
by the way, good distinction. Continue, please.
Yeah. You got the Zionists who basically, want to play the victim but be the aggressor at the same time. And you just can't. You can't have it both ways.
Thank you.
And they're trying to, certainly. So you have all those different dynamics in there. So it's very, very difficult to always just kind of put them all in one basket. But that is, I can see how people get that confused and maybe conflate both of those or several of those different factions.
Yes, a very important point. Well taken. So the Zionist faction is the enemy, basically, and that's epitomized by the American Israeli Political Action Committee, and which has attacked democracy along with Donald Trump, and that is who the enemy is. Definitely, and they are the people who are, of course, rationalizing the genocide in the Gaza. And by the way, so tell us your own impression of the genocide in the Gaza, or how you perceive it, or share with us your own observations on that situation.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason for Israel to persecute this thing the way they're doing it, from a moral or political or even financial standpoint. Again, this is why I think Biden was summarily dismissed as a candidate, because he wasn't going to play the game the way they wanted it to be played. He had brokered a peace. Now, first of all, okay, the October 7th was a horrible thing. There's no other way you can do it. Now, you got to think, Israel is one of the most well-heeled intelligence communities in the world. How the freak do you get where all these guys just parachute out of nowhere and just attack the country and nobody knows anything? That bothers me. That's very 9/11-ish to me. Secondly, even if that's the case, those people did not deserve to die or get attacked or raped or whatever else they're saying. But Biden had tried to negotiate a peace. He had brokered ceasefire. It was done. It was agreed to, except for everybody in Netanyahu's cabinet. And they control the levers of power. The people wanted a peace. They wanted the fighting to stop. And he didn't, because if he doesn't fight, he might go to jail. He's an international, he's been deemed an international war criminal. So he's got to keep things going, just like Putin, just like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so it puts America in a tough situation, because we have, like you said, the AIPAC is a very strong lobby, and they are very much against Netanyahu being listed on the International Criminal or watch list or anything, but that's just what it is. Years ago, when Israel was doing stuff, Bishop Tutu went to The Hague and said, "Hey, man, Israel is doing some crazy stuff over here. We got to stop these people from just killing innocent people." Now, everybody has an argument. Everybody wants peace. It's not fair that anyone should die, and you can't quantify and say, well, 38 Jews are worth 10,000 Arabs. And that's what it seems like they're doing.
Yes.
They're trying to sort of scale where 38 Jewish people or 200 is worth 100,000 Palestinians. Come on, man.
that's just evil. That you can't even to begin to even justify that without being just deemed evil.
Thank you.
Again, that does not lessen my sympathy and empathy and my feeling that the Palestinians were wrong for killing one Jew, much less 220, 230, however many were killed. But it still does not justify them using 200-pound bombs against hospitals, schools, neighborhoods, killing innocent civilians to kill one guy. You kill 400 people to kill one guy. That just does not. The numbers just doesn't. There's no justice in that, Douglas.
Thank you.
There's just no justice in that. You're just being a bully because you can, and that's the whole point of being a great nation: is that you use restraint, you use diplomacy when you can, when you have to, and sometimes it's inconvenient to do it, but you have to do it. If America or any other